phone. So I'm going to call to order the Finance Committee meeting today, November 22nd, 2023. And we need to approve the agenda for today. Could I have a mover for the agenda? Thank you. Mary Anderson and Councillor Rich. Okay, all in favor of the agenda? Thank you. Do I vote on that too? No, because I'm the chair. Yes. No. Thank you. I don't see the hand going up. I was just curious. Okay.
And when you don't raise your hand, it's in the affirmative.
Yes, yes.
You don't actually have to.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, so now we're gonna have the adoption of the minutes. So recommendation that the minutes of the Select Finance Committee meeting held on April 11th, 2023 adopted. Could I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor McCabe. Councillor Beach, all in favor? Passed. So new business today. We have the Shuswap Trail Alliance presentation and draft agreement today. And Bianca, you're gonna handle this one?
Yeah, so we have Jen in the house right now to present, Jen Bellhouse. So I will pass it to her to do her presentation and then we can discuss afterwards.
Is the microphone on?
Yeah.
Keep it online. Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
It's more the people online.
Yeah,
So speak right into it.
Yeah.
they're nice and loud.
You're fine, just talk normally.
Okay. So good morning. Thanks for having me here. I really appreciate the time to present and speak. My name is Jen Bellhouse. I'm the Executive Director of the Shuswap Trail Alliance. Is there a particular spot I should be? There we go. There we go. Hello, I would just like to acknowledge that the Shuswap Trail Alliance is grateful to be operating within the traditional territory of the Shuswap people. So the Shuswap Trail Alliance exists as a collaboration of partners working together to create purpose-built, sanctioned, and sustainable trails throughout the Shuswap region. Our vision is connected trails, healthy communities, and through thoughtful collaboration, we develop, operate, maintain, and promote a network of non-motorized trails throughout the Shuswap region. Our core values include proactive collaboration, cultural respect, community building, and care for the land. Our approach is to use a participatory decision-based community development model, which is just a really big mouthful for we work together. So some of the shared tools that we've created over the years are the trail design standards, the trail standards themselves. We have a trail hotline for reporting trail information if there's damage to any of the trails or that they need maintenance, and our Shuswap Trails Guide and the website. The Shuswap Regional Trails Strategy was developed through the Roundtable, and the strategy is value-based and includes appropriate acknowledgement of Secwepemc Nation territory, accountable protocols for priorities, and the purpose of the strategy is to protect, enhance, and recognize trails as an integral part of Shuswap lifestyle, culture, and economy. So working together, Ikwetsu, or taking care of the land, is really the overarching principle of the Roundtable and the Shuswap Trails Alliance as well. So this roundtable picture is from last year, and it was our first in person after a couple of years virtual. Our next roundtable is coming up next Wednesday at the Squichin Community Center. Registration is open until tomorrow afternoon. If you're interested, you can check it out. It's a great opportunity to connect with other leadership throughout the community, including provincial government representation and representation from the 4 Indigenous communities. So what have we done together since 2001? We have worked with over 485 Greenway Trail projects. We have 11 signature trail systems and 142 regional trails. We've created over 157 new kilometers of trails valued over $3.75 million. And that's on top of social trails or already established trails, working with communities to bring new trails to fruition. We have over 1,955 trail signs. We have 6,225 blazes. There's over 39 kiosks. We have 4-season trail-based marketing for all regions within the Shuswap. And there's a value of over $7,860,000 in leveraged cash in kind investment since 2006. In 2023, we worked on over 75 projects with 40 different partners. We built 2 new trails totaling 4,000 meters or 4 kilometers. We have performed over 21,000 kilometers of maintenance. That number will raise closer to 40,000 by the time we're finished this season. We built 5 bridges and 28 boardwalks this year. We have installed 59 new trail signs and 2 kiosks. We worked on 1 invasive species removal project in partnership with CSED. We've had over 25 volunteer days with well over 100,000 people participating in volunteer days. We worked on 6 recreational access management plans, 3 conservation projects, and 2 legacy trail concept proposals, one of those being the rail trail. Here's a snapshot of the 2023 trail project. So as you can see that we have projects either planning or infrastructure throughout the whole entire region of the Shuswap. Couple of the highlights from 2023, we have had an anonymous donor since 2020 who has been donating a substantial amount of funds to the Shuswap Trail Alliance. With those funds, we've been able to pull off some projects we never would have otherwise. We've been able to put some money to some of the smaller communities within the region and help with trail projects. And stay tuned for 2024. We're looking at allocating another set of projects to communities throughout the region, and we've been super grateful for this anonymous donor. At the Barley Station, they collect 10 cents for every pint of the Shuswap Trail IPA. So if you ever feel like supporting the Trail Alliance and you're a little thirsty, Barley Station's the place to do that. And Cooper Equipment Rentals, formerly Warner Rentals, stepped up for us this year. They made a cash donation and they've applied a 20% discount to all rentals that we rent from them, which is significant for us. They're our prime source of most of our machinery. We completed the Mare Lookout Historic Pack Trail Restoration Project this year, so that's just up at Owlhead FSR. I had a chance to hike it this fall and it was incredible up there. They replaced 25 boardwalks, 5 new bridges, there's new trail signs, there's new wayfinding signs of blazes, and there's just a little bit of kind of tweaks up at the top end of the trail that we'll be working on next year, but the bottom end is sorted. Brand new beautiful outhouse. I think the snowmobilers will appreciate it, and you know, it's popular areas, so we built it up on stairs so that it is still accessible in winter as well. We've worked with partnership with the Backcountry Horsemen to complete equestrian trails at Sneakham. We finished the Sprint of Blind Bay Park Universal Trail this year. We hosted volunteer days throughout the region, including one at Eden Valley Nature Park, would be the closest one. And then we picked trails throughout the region to get volunteers together and an opportunity to be able to give back to the trails that everyone loves. We worked with the City of Salmon Arm, the Municipal Regional District Tax Program from Salmon Arm, and Shuswap Community Foundation to install the bike wash station at South Canoe, which was really exciting for us this year. We worked on the Yellow Flag Renewal Project. We continue to support the Secwepemc Landmarks Project at the leadership or the direction of the Indigenous communities. And this year, one of the big monuments was installed at Chase, and another small one was installed at Haney Heritage just at the end of the season. We were on track to install the rest of phase 1 this year, but unfortunately, the wildfire that ripped through School Axe affected 2 of the artists' homes, and 2 of the art pieces, which were nearing completion, and one that was complete, were damaged in the fire. So they have to start over on those ones.
Wow.
We supported the Secwepemc Landmarks Trailhead Post Project, and there's more than 75 of the close to 100 posts have been installed so far, and the rest will make it in the ground early this year. We've worked on general trail maintenance in partnership with the City of Salmon Arm, CSRD Parks, BC Parks, and more regional partners. And as I mentioned a few moments ago, there'll be over 40,000 meters of trail that will have been maintained this year. We've of course been working to support the Shuswap North Okanagan Rail Trail, and progress was made with that this year, and we're hoping to see more construction early next year. We've been working with the City of Salmon Arm, Nisconlith and Adams Lake on the West Bay Connector planning. So there is a RFP going out to do the actual plan. This is a trail that will run from the Salmon Arm Bay all the way to Tappan. Phase 1 goes as far as Adams Lake. At Pierre's Point, and so this will provide an opportunity to communication trail. You'll be able to do almost the whole Salmon Bay from Raven along the foreshore trail all the way up to Tappan, but it also provides a safe network for the communities to the west of Salmon Arm to make it into town, not having to walk on the track of the highway anymore. We participated in active transportation planning. We helped participate in the Trails and Park Master Plan with the District of Sycamore this year. We updated our trail guide that came out this year. So if you're looking for a new paper copy, all the trails are updated. Lots of work went into that. Our fundraiser in February, we got $63,500 for 2023, which was really exciting. That it allows us to leverage those funds to other grants to work with community partners or grants we applied for ourselves, and all goes back into the building and maintaining trails within the Shuswap region. Here's just a snapshot of some of our partners for 2023. So District of Sycamore, our other community partners, Salmon Arm, Chase, Enderby, Backcountry Horsemen, Shuswap Community Foundation, the province, and on and on and on. So for the past 4 years, 2020 to 2023, our total regional value was $2,687,846. So that included 287 projects with over 100 partners, 12 new trails totaling 16,000 meters in 9 locations throughout the region, over 1 million meters maintained and upgraded, 38 new boardwalks, 6 fences, 6 bridges, and 2 completed in the past 4 years. Over 255 new pipelines were installed in 20 locations, and we had over 180 volunteer events with over 100,000 people, participating. So Sycamore specific, from 2020 to 2023, the total project of significance for Sycamore area. So this includes projects that we've worked on, such as the rail trail, being the big one, which is why it's the large this year, is $1,531,469. Apparently, I can't read numbers this morning. The District of Sycamore has contributed just over 22,000 to Greenway Trail projects within the last 4 years. Some of the other projects that we worked on were for the Bayview Estates and for the general trail plan for Sycamores and where greenways can be expanded. And then you can see the 2020 to 2023 projects of relevance for the District of Sycamore total another couple of $100,000. So that's including Rubberhead, South Canute, recognizing that Sycamore's residents do travel to Rubberhead and South Canute to use the trail network there. So that was improvements on those networks. So why are we here? Or why am I here today? There for you is to contribute to our 4-year operational fund, which the previous agreement is up as of December 31st. Our operational fixed costs to start for the year $228,000. So that's things like the core staff wage, myself, our admin, our bookkeeper, the liability insurance, truck insurance, rent. So the core operational costs that we need in order to then be able to leverage additional funds and get more projects and deliver to the communities within the region. So this year, the City of Salmon Arm and CSRD have both confirmed that they will start their agreements at $50,000 plus up to 5% CPI for the next 4 years. We would like to humbly request that Sycamore consider paying $6,020 for the first year plus CPI for every subsequent year for 2024 to 2027 for a 4-year annual collaborative agreement. So looking ahead, what have we got on go for next year, for the next 4 years? Our 2024 to 2027 priorities, facilitating the roundtable, working to protect Secwepemc values and interests, maintaining and building community trails, to grow volunteer trail stewardship, to support the Secwepemc Landmarks project, to be able to provide advice to the communities on trails, and then as well as working on the 2 large projects, the rail trail and the West Bay Connected Trail. Project priorities for 2024. So we actually already have over 60 plus projects that we know will be continuing into 2024, a combination of some in-house unfunded projects, some big projects with community partners. We are still working really hard to nudge the province to approve the Owlhead Bike Park. So I know that has seemed like there's not much happening, but please know that we're trying our best to move forward. I had a conversation with the acting rec officer last week, and I feel that maybe the year we see some movement. So So what can you do to help the FTA as a person, as an organization? You can use the trails to tell others about the trails, to join local trail stewardship. You can become a member. We are just launching our annual membership drive right now. And you can volunteer to become a steward. We have a legacy fund set up with the Shuswap Community Foundation. And we have a Build a Meter of Trail campaign. And Christian, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. Man, the beautiful photos of the trails, it's something else, eh? The work that you guys have done, it's amazing. Comments or questions? Councilor Rich?
I just want to say thank you. I went up riding at Skim last weekend. Absolutely fabulous, like for the equestrian side, just we trailered in from here. Incredible. And we spend a lot of time out in the network and just really appreciate everything you're doing. And we just need to keep promoting it. I think it's a huge tourist drive too for Sicamous, that people know where they can get out and get going. So thank you for all the work you do.
Councilor Gord.
Thank you, through the chair. Thanks, Jen. You guys are doing a great job as usual. I just had a couple questions about Owlhead. The cash cabin, we kind of, with COVID and everything and the fires, we kind of didn't get back to put the windows in. So the windows have been ordered by Bayview Homes and they were gonna install them on their dime. So I just wanted to give you an update on that, because I know we elevated it, replaced the bottom rounds and also replaced the front deck on it, but we never got to do the windows in it. But love what you're doing up there and making all the boardwalks and another thing on the lookout, you have on your next year's project, the lookout restoration. Is that more for the trail, or are you going to be able to get an application in to restore the lookout?
Just the trail.
Just the trail, right?
Yeah.
It's too bad. Because you guys, I mean, you went in to be in the hut to hut. I know Phil and Lori Wood went in to do the hut to hut thing, but they don't have any huts. But if you could get your hand, you get in on that lookout, you would have at least your first hut. So it would be neat to see an application go in for the Shuswap Trail Lines. I know we tried the Snowmobile Club, but it's kind of falling on deaf ears. And
I feel that's just the tone of the provincial government right now. I will definitely explore that further. Maybe if some rec office are changing, that might be a different story than what it was before.
yeah, okay, well, that's good. And then just one question, Daryl, can I ask Daryl, will we be able to get in touch with that Jim Stratton and ask him, because he was the one that told us that we would be doing Owlhead this coming summer. Does he responded to our letter about, he was going to talk to Kevin Eskelin in Camp Cranbrook, who looks after the area, and then in turn talk to our rec officer, which has changed 2 or 3 times since the last time we spoke.
Just changed again, is what I heard this morning. So I've got another contact to follow up on.
Kelsey's great. Kelsey Knoll, she's really good. So just I think if we don't keep on them, especially the assistant deputy minister, then he can, move down the chain and hopefully we'll get the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
And both Kevin and Kelsey will be at the round table next.
Perfect.
Yes.
Councilor Beach?
Through the chair, I just want to say how incredible the work is that the Trail Alliance does. Just all of this stuff is just amazing. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
What a great piece of contribution to this area.
Thank you. All right, take it over. Sorry, Mayor Anderson.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair. Jennifer, thank you for all the great work you do, and it's really appreciated. I have a couple of drill down questions. The Owlhead Trail, which has been, as we know, has been percolating in the back, and we weren't getting a lot of movement on it. And we did, as council, put a big push in, and we now see some movement. But I think there was some disconnect prior to get that project moving. So, I mean, as partners, I just want to make sure that the Alliance, Shuswap Alliance, Trail Alliance is working with their partners to make sure that they are driving as hard as they can too. I notice also CSRD is giving you $50,000 this year. What did they give you last year?
It was 48,600 and something, so 44,000 was what the original contribution was 4 years ago, and then plus the CPI. Yeah, so the increase, the same percentage increase applies to all our asks to all of the partners are this year. Obviously, just with the smaller agreements, it doesn't quite show as large as it does with the CSRD, Salmon Arm, but it is the same percentage applied across the board.
And I just see that Area E is now included in the CSRD. Did Area E give you a separate contribution before?
No,
It's always been
It's always been part of that. The only, I guess, change is with Area G this year.
With
My
this-
understanding is that they kept the split the same across all of the areas, recognizing the value that although residents may, like residents from each area are going to visit the networks within the whole region and travel, like they're not, Area C residents are going up to the boundary and saying, oh, I can't go on the rest of the trail now, it's in Area G, so.
That's complicated. No, thank you very much. Thanks, Jennifer.
And then I guess just next steps on this. So we do have an agreement that will be coming to the next regular council meeting. And then just hearing, Jen, I just want to confirm. So last time, just in the wording, we had increased to a maximum of 2% annually. Are we removing that and just doing CPI increases?
CPI to the maximum of 5% is what the city of Salmon Arm and the CSRD have done. So if that works for the district, we'd appreciate it. We recognize that the CPI has been all over the board the last few years, and that it could be a little too high. And so we would be more than grateful for the cap of 5% if it works for Sigmas.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good stuff. All right, well, what's next? We'll read the draft agreement now or later?
We'll bring it back to the next council meeting. Nothing in there has changed other than we're doing it to a max of 2% and CPI. So if CPI is lower than 5%, it'll go up less than 5%, but our max is 5% yearly increase. Yeah.
Good stuff. Thank you, Jen. Good stuff. All right. Let's move on to the Shuswap Healing Center. And we're gonna go over the Shuswap Healing Center capital budget. Got the budget in front of you. Questions or comments, Kelly?
Yeah, I'll take this one from Bianca. So I'm just going right to the third attachment on here. The other two attachments you've already seen at a previous committee of the whole, so I'm not going to really go over them in detail, but this is following Bianca and I had a 2 to 3 hour meeting with the team, and we went through probably 150 line items one by one, every single one, going through it, talking about it, what it was, can we save anything, can we do anything different? So with that, we tried to provide some breakdown without providing the entire breakdown, because that's a lot of different pages. So, I mean, good news from the original quote, that was October 24th, it was 6.49. We've now got a revised one to 6.3, so it's down 170,000. So some of the things that we've trimmed are the building permit fees. We're dealing with the garbage disposals. The landscaping they had in there was a large amount, which was way over, that we'll take on as part of the park. We have a parks budget of 250 for that space, so we'll take that on there. Tree removal, their price was quite high. We know what the tree removal costs are. We're currently removing trees right now, so we're gonna take on the tree removal piece. So those are some of the things which saved us 170,000. And then there were some items as well, where we are changing instead of, so this it's coming to the meeting tonight. It's a fixed price contract, right? So things go up and things go down. The risk is on the builder if things go up. But there are some things, because you can't have your cake and eat it, where we have identified some areas that are cash allowances. So what that means is, because looking at the budget that they have, I feel like it could be less and we can work with them to make it less. So for example, there's an amount in there for example, under site supervision, they've got multiple superintendents and stuff coming, and then there's an allowance for housing them while they're here. So if we can get that down, then they'll give us a do a change order and credit us for that amount. They'll reduce it. So with the cash allowance, if it's more than that, then we bear that risk on that piece. But I'm more than confident that we can get the accommodation piece less than what they have in there. In addition, the winter allowance is a cash allowance, so that can be reduced if not absorbed. In earthworks, they had a reasonable amount in there for the removal of the dirt. We think we can get that down because we think we could find a spot for the dirt that's a lot closer. So there's those type of things as well as the contingency. So those are just some items to note. I'm happy to go through this in detail, but maybe what I'll do is I'll just highlight some of because each one of these things consists of, let's say, 3 to 16 different line items, right? So there's a lot of detail that goes behind it. I'll just kind of highlight some of the larger ones and then I'll open it up to the floor for any questions. And this, once again, is for the building shell and the site works. It is not for the interior. We have a preliminary budget for the interior of approximately 2.5 million. Myself and Councillor Beach and the team and Karen met yesterday for our first meeting to go over the interior space to make some recommendations for some modifications. And so they're working and tweaking it, and that will come back some point in December for council to take a look at and make some other decisions and give that a blessing. So then that piece can be tendered out and we can get some hard numbers on that. Okay, so first one that's larger is site supervision. So within this one, they've got a project manager, a superintendent, cross shift carpenter, some laborers, it's the travel, room and board, and living out and meals. So that's where if those are less, we can get an allowance for those pieces because I think their budget in there is high for that. So that's wages for the Scott Builder staff to come here and manage all the sub trades. Also to note, that this was sent out to 220 different sub-trade suppliers and vendors in BC and Alberta. Of that, they got about a 40% response rate to get prices. And all the select sub-trades are all within the region. So they don't have, I had in my report originally some actual names of some contractors that they had selected, but they don't actually have that locked in, they don't have a signed contract with them yet. They've just used their dollars. So they didn't want to disclose in this meeting who they were, but there's Valley Blacktop, for example, for paving, Grizzlies, curb and gutter, it's all from, there's a lot of them. Majority are either from Salmon Arm, Blind Bay, Vernon, Revelstoke, whatever they could get. It's all within the region. I don't even think there's anybody from Alberta other than Scott Builders themselves. The rest are all within the Shuswap, Okanagan. I think the furthest one is Kamloops or Kelowna. And once we can see all those, but they sent it out to quite a few people, and so these numbers are being pulled from there. Like the excavator quote is Advantage Excavating from Salmon Arm. They're in Salmon Arm. The roofing is another Blind Bay, a commercial roofing company out in Blind Bay. So they are using more local businesses that have the capability of doing a larger scale building. Okay, so I just thought I'd throw that out there. There's a lot of, construction facilities, that's for, toilets, temporary fencing, temporary power, signage, temporary building, site building, all that kind of stuff. Equipment, trucks, equipment rentals, skid steers, temporary generators, storage, mobilization in and out. Earthworks and gravel. Just what it sounds like, earthworks and gravel, a lot of foundation excavation, interior slab preparation. Another large one, site work and gravel prep and paving. So this is for the main parking lot and the other parking lot, and then bringing in fill and then all the asphalt associated with it. There is a lot of money bringing in fill because they have to raise it up about 3.5 feet. So you've got to scrape off about 1/2 foot there for the building and all the parking lots. Got to scrape that off and remove it. Then you got to bring in a certain type of fill to bring it up 3.5 feet before. So there's, and our foundation is large because it's on one floor. It's not 2 floors. So it's not 7,000 and 7,000. It's 15,000 on one. So that means there's more cost for earthworks and all the concrete and the foundation and footings, which is expensive. Okay. Once again, form work, that's for the retaining walls and all the concrete. You got to form them. Let's see, exterior cultured stone. So that's the stone that runs along the bottom of the healing center. It's about 83,000. The metal siding, which is 594. So that's the steel that looks like wood around the facade. And this includes material and installation. So that's 594. And then the windows and doors are 304. So if you just take a look at the materials and labor on the outside, it's about $1 million for the rock, the glazed glass, and the steel faux wood, but it's all very, very, very durable, long lasting material. So you also get what you pay for on that one.
Well,
Councilor McCabe?
your spreadsheet's more current than ours, I think, eh? Because I'm looking at different numbers in my spreadsheet.
Like,
Mine's the same.
Metal siding. Oh, okay.
Mine just,
No,
No, it is the same one.
got my glasses now.
So I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Excellent.
I kind of skipped through a couple things because I just want to talk, metal framing. This year it's 696,000. So this is basically the majority of it is the structural steel within the building. So that's just structural steel as well as the handrails around, which isn't a large piece of that, but around the exterior walls, because we have to raise it up. So there's a patio there and then it'll float down, but there'll be an area because it's 3.5 feet high where there'll have to be some railings there. Some minor carpentry and painting, insulation. We already talked about the metal siding, roofing, 330 for the roof and the membrane. Windows we talked about, some interior drywall, mechanical system of 500. Backup generator 289. So I'm sorry, it's 260, 289 is electrical. And they're using, I think this quote is from Bolt Electrical out of Salmon Arm. Backup generator 260. So just for confirmation, this is the same type of generator that we already use within our facility. So Daryl gave them the specs of the generator, and that's the type of generator that they quoted on. It is not a propane one, it is a diesel one. But that's what we use in all of our facilities, and it should be more than enough. Not if every light is on in that facility, but you know, it will be able to keep a lot of it moving within a reasonable price range. Then there's the winter allowance. They've got a contingency, and then the Scott Builder fee, which is 5% of the total cost, which is 300,000 to come up to 6.319. So is there any questions before I go to the other ones about this cost breakdown? I know it totals a lot, but when you look at each individual breakdown, and I mean, Daryl and Bianca and myself went through it first, the three of us. And then after that meeting, then we had another meeting and we went through it with the contractor to trim it as much as we can and to provide some allowances within this that we could do a change order. And because we can think there's a few spots where we think we could get it lower, but for now it would be up to a maximum of 6.319 And that will be at tonight's council meeting.
Okay, thank you. Councilor McCabe?
Well, yeah, just a couple comments and one question. First off, I thank you staff for everyone in staff for drilling deep on this and scrutinizing the budget and just instead of rubber stamping whatever a consultant gives you or contractor gives you. A lot of thought been put into this. We're not going into this blind. And a couple comments. So winter allowance, I think that's a good thing to have in there because if they didn't start, say, next month or this winter, the cost would be way more than 200,000 additional in the spring because of escalation. So that 200,000 to allow us to start work right away will more than offset what we'd see in escalation costs if we didn't start until the spring, I think, in my opinion. Question, Scott Builder fee 5%. I mean, we've got a contingency in there. We have a winter allowance in there. We have admin costs in there. We've got site supervision in there. What is the 5%? What's the breakdown now? Like,
Yeah, if the 5% is on everything from this point on, and I verified the math. So it's all of that. So this will be modified if things in here change, because it's just a calculation. So if there's a change order, that 5% changes.
Is that if I may, is that some sort of industry standard or what?
Actually, it's very low. Like I know a lot of other builders, like I can speak for some construction companies that I know, and they do about 15 to 20%. So, because Scott Builders tend to do larger jobs, so they do 5% is what they do. But then there's certain things that they charge us, like in equipment, for example, because I did ask this question, because there's things for the use of their phones and their trucks in here. So their percentage rate is less. But then they charge us a piece of their overhead actually versus having a higher rate. That makes sense?
Yeah.
But it's not, I actually thought it was low.
Yeah. Councilor Bailey? And then Councilor Bushel.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't. Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, so just a question on the contingency because it has an asterisk beside it. So it's not just so I'm clear. Is the contingency there based on the price range of certain line items, as the little asterisk says? It's not really something that's specifically set out in the budget. It's kind of like a combination of the ranges that could possibly be, right?
Yeah, it's a percentage. It's a contingency 5% of summary total. So there is, yeah. So but it's not 5% because there was those two pieces. Like there was some additional works that because of the ground elevation. So we've got a couple different spreadsheets going on. So it's a percentage of the total build. It is a percentage of the total build. That's what the contingency is, 5%.
Right, because some of those line items could very well go over, some could be under, and this is more or less the wiggle room that's in.
It gives them a little
these line
bit of
items,
buffer, right? Because there is no guarantee, and so it gives them a little bit of buffer if certain things go over. That then we're not so that they don't have to lose or eat anything on it. But if it goes over that, then they do have to absorb it.
Right. So just one other question.
Yeah.
This is all, this is all contingent, but there is a couple of really important things that are not in here. And that's if we need to do any further archaeological works on this site, that's not part of Scott Builders' fixed price, correct?
100% correct. So
Okay.
I've got on here, and I can't make it bigger. There we go.
No, I think they went over that pretty clearly last time they were before council.
Yeah, and so we do have, in addition to that 6.3, an estimate for the interior to come up to 8.7, we do have, not project management, we do have about 250, like we have an additional random dollar value of about 150,000 for just our own internal contingency, as well as 100,000 for site monitoring with like kind of for archaeological stuff. So we do have a little bit of a buffer there if something happens. Is that going to be enough, or are we going to use it? I don't know, is the answer.
Right. Okay, thanks. I have other questions, but I'll wait until we get to the next part.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Bailey. Councillor Bushel?
Thank you through the chair. Yeah, Kelly, thanks for asking that, because we originally were 5% and didn't we increase the contingency to 8%? Because it was 291 and then went up to 476, but somehow we're back at 378. But we did bump it up from 5 to 8. Is that right on the contingency?
I am just gonna, which spreadsheet are you talking about?
Well, you have the internal contingency of 147,000,
Right,
and then you have theirs at 230.
right.
So anyways, one of your previous bulletins you gave us, it went from 5 to 8%. But we've actually come down actually, so that's good.
Well, and because this is more of a fixed price contract, right? So the contingency is bigger when we know less about the actual cost. So as we're locking in costs, the contingency is
Yeah,
getting less.
okay. Just, and I know this is a fixed price and anything we can do to get that number below 10 million. I've even reaching out to municipal insurance. I know they can do course of construction insurance because they have been doing it. Is there any way we can, you start looking at just anything on the items before you sign the contract that we can drill down and I'm glad our generator, I thought we could bring it down a little bit, removing from propane to diesel, but dewatering, things like that, you almost think they should, like dewatering, you think that should be a floating thing. If we don't really dig till, if we're digging in June, we shouldn't be digging in June, but we're not gonna have to dewater it in the wintertime if we're only going down half a foot. So those are they should be floating items, not fixed items, but
Cash allowances. So this is where, and to that point, we have a contract which is being reviewed by Young Anderson right now. And we're gonna be adding a bunch more verbiage in there to make sure, because a standard DC contract is great unless you come into some problems and then you need a little bit more clarity. And attached to that, we're gonna add a bunch of this detail and really wherever we would like a cash allowance, it makes their job a little bit more difficult, but they're super willing to work with us to do cash allowances on those ones. So then that way, if it's less, then we get a credit for that.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. So and I agree on the dewatering, I mean, it was $5,000 within the budget, the actual dewatering itself. It wasn't a large item, but yes.
yeah. And the other one I was wondering is maybe Daryl can comment on the parking lot cisterns. They want to install a cisterns, which is like 110,000. Is our storm there not capable of handling that storm? Like, I don't, cisterns are expensive and I'm just wondering if
Yeah,
our parking lots aren't that big. I know the roof is big, but the parking lots,
there's gonna be a lot of surface area that's catching the water. So it adds a lot to a system that we're already running down and pumping out when it rains at high water. So
okay,
to have something independent, what we tell developers to do is manage your own stormwater. We took that same approach with that site.
but those cisterns will actually pump into our storm.
No, those are gonna be like rock pits, basically. We're gonna catch it and they're gonna drain on site.
Okay, yeah, all right, thanks, Daryl. What else did I have? Kelly, you talked about local contractors, people like Napa, are they gonna see any of this or like even if they're scratching for like framers or contractors, like PA structures might be slow. I mean, I really feel that with what's going on in Kelowna right now, we're gonna start to feel a little bit of a pinch in Sycamores, like Kelowna, with all the short-term rentals, people that actually have been pre-buying short-term rentals for all those new condos that they're building in Kelowna. They're now realizing that short-term rentals might not happen. They're backing away from their deals. I think we're gonna see a little bit of a tightening. And I'm just wondering, you know, are our local contractors and companies here gonna feel that too? And is there any way Scott Builders can use Napa a little more instead of the big ones?
I guess it depends what they need from Napa, right? And what their parts are. I know they've got quotes for their larger items, but if there's local things that they need and there's people available, they have made a commitment. They said it to us multiple times on the phone. They're committed to use as much local as possible. So I will continue to reiterate that if when they're on site, things are needed, like they'll use local people, right? Or local suppliers for all those odds and sods, you know what I mean? But yeah, exactly. So there will be, because you know what, they'll need nails and that type of, you know, all that type of stuff that, as you know, when you're building, you think you've got everything, but you really don't. And there will be probably, I will talk to them about some other like laborers and whether there's an opportunity to outsource some local laborers for certain things as well. Yeah, so this, even though this is a fixed price, this is a fixed price to a maximum of. We are constantly going to be working with this to fine tune it. I am super sensitive about the dollars, so I am on it, just for the record.
I feel that you should be the project manager.
Well,
Hey, I'm just kidding.
our project, so at the end of the day, we have builders and a project manager, but at the end of the day, it is our project and we are left with this building in our community, so it has to meet our needs and we're the ones paying for it.
I hope Brian's not listening.
Thank you. Councillor Bailey and then Mayor Anderson.
Yeah, let me just see. Okay, I'm off mute. So the next piece of it, this is just for the shell. And then when is because I mean, it's a little bit weird to me because we're gonna basically vote on the shell and then there's no turning back from that, right? I mean, once that vote goes through council, I mean, this is a done deal, really. And then when is the next kind of interior piece expected to get that costing down to a final point?
Yeah, great question, Ian. So we had a really good meeting yesterday about the interior. And so before, hopefully we can lock and load in the interior prices in January or February. So we need to confirm the interior space so then they can actually get the architect to properly design, like do the drawings for the interior space. And then their goal is to tender it in January, which is the best time, they said, to tender, because you're going to get the best prices in January. So they're going to tender out the inside works in January, and then we'll have some fixed price numbers for the interior space.
Okay.
Right.
So
Talking to them and looking at what they have, they feel that this 2.5 million approximately is based on what the interior layout is currently, is a reasonable price for that.
right, but we won't know that until they go out and they do it, and like who knows, really. I mean, that's probably a good guess. I totally agree with you. So then the reason we're doing this now on the interior shell is because Scott Builders came to us and said, well, this is, we got 30 days and the quote's good for 30 days. So you guys kind of decide for 30 days and, if not, the price could change. Is that kind of correct? Like we're doing this kind of piecemeal, is we're approving this, and then sometime in January, maybe February. I mean, January, they'll have to go out and get the quote. So it's probably February that it'll come to council. So is that kind of the reason why we're doing it this way? Because, this is splitting up the project really in two in terms of like an approval stage.
Good question. So we have always talked about starting the exterior while finalizing the interior, because the interior is still a little fluid. So in order to start the exterior, we need to get, and we've approved the development permit. The building permit is sitting here, ready to go. So they've tendered out all the works, got hard prices in. If we don't want to pull the trigger today, then we could wait, they could re-tender it. And originally, the plan was, oh, let's start working in the fall, right? On this, I don't think they'll realistically be able to start. It'll be sometime in the new year. It may actually, we may lock in the prices and they may not start till March. I don't know, because we got to firm up the timing. But I mean, so it's either approve this today or I guess wait until the interior is ready to go. And that would then happen sometime in the spring. So we risk a change of price and scheduling timing of trades, like lining things up in terms of getting things started. So it just pushed the project back. Would there be more certainty because we know the fixed price for the inside and the outside at that time? Yes. But is the interior estimate reasonable? I think it is, but it's going to change a bit. I don't know how much. And we also have another budget. So because today we're talking operating, next finance meeting, we're talking capital. And within our capital plan, we have 670,000 set aside for equipment, furniture, IT work coming from our equipment reserves, as well as some grant money from Shuswap Hospital Foundation for some medical equipment. And then we also have 250,000 in our parks budget funded from the Community Works Fund for any kind of outdoor space work that we're doing at the Healing Center. So this budget is strictly the building and the paving works. Did I answer your question? I know I kind of rambled.
Yeah, no, you did. No, I'm just trying to so we have all these other little pockets that we'll be taking money from to support the Healing Center. Have we truly added up, like, we take that $250,000, we're going to do some landscaping and yard work, as you said, to lower this budget. Have we added up all the money that is going to go into this building in terms of all the resources that we're going to put? And I gather it's, we're trying to take it from different spots, but at the end of the day, it's all still money. And have we created what would be a total cost for the building, irregardless of whether we take it from pot A or pot B or pot C? It's all going into this project. Do we have that kind of global number?
Yeah, I mean, not exactly, just I would say throw another million on there, or a little less, maybe 800,000 for some green space, whatever. And I think 250 is probably high for the green space but
right.
250 plus another, and I mean, these allowances are super general. Until we firm up the interior and actually know, we've just got an allowance in there. So, maybe throw in another 800,000.
Yeah, that'd be more than conservative. We're looking at, like Karen is looking at every piece of medical equipment, bed, chair in our old facility that will move over just fine to the new facility. So we're crunching all those numbers. Yeah.
Right now.
Just one other final comment. I think staff has, they've done an excellent job. You guys have done an excellent job of pinning this down. This is not easy. And this is definitely a bit of a beast. So I want to commend you guys for working on a really tough project here with, escalating numbers all the way through. So I think you've done an excellent job. So any of my comments or anything I'm trying to drill down here, I don't want it to be perceived as anything reflecting negatively on staff. I think you've done the best job you possibly could under the circumstances. So thank you very much.
Good stuff, Councillor Bailey. Thank you. Councillor Rich?
Through the chair. So 2 questions. What is, like, with the $2 million increase and we've got the 1.7, what is that going to look like for the taxpayer? So, that is one of the big questions everywhere, is people are saying, with this increase, if we go to a $10 million building, what does that look like on my taxes over how many years, and what is the actual increase?
Okay, so the actual direct capital, from a capital's perspective, there will be no impact to anybody's taxes for the construction of it. So if we look, I don't know why this, if we look, so about 8 million of it is funded with confirmed grants.
Yes.
And then 2 million is coming from reserves that we have
Yeah.
specifically for the healing center. So that's the capital piece. So the $2 million increase is not a direct impact on people's taxes. But what is an impact on people's taxes is the operating of the facility, right? And so what we have now, and I've just got placeholders, year 1 to year 5, because we don't exactly know when this is happening. I'm gonna say partway through, I would say maybe halfway through 2025, maybe it's when year 1 would start, right? I think a full year in 2026. Right now, our clinic deficit, our taxpayers are funding it approximately $80,000 a year. In the past, it was 112 and 139. I'm fairly confident that, you know, maybe the first year or two, there might be an extra $25,000 that we'll have to subsidize, but after that, it will be a wash. If anything, like my revenue generations from here are a lot lower than what I think the operational costs are. So from a taxpayer's perspective, maybe partway in 2025, there could be a small impact, but I think it'll get better in the future.
So is that 1% or that's 0.02%? Like when you say small, or that's 10?
Not even, well, so because we already have the deficit from the medical clinic that we run. That's the actual big deficit, not the building itself.
Okay.
So right now we've got it penciled in for less than 0.5% in the first year of operations.
Okay.
Same with the second year, and after that it will be nothing.
Okay.
And these are budgeted estimates right now, the best we can do based on the information we have today for something I'm projecting in 2025, 2026.
Okay, excellent.
Yes.
And then I have one more question.
Right.
And if we pulled the plug on the project and we said, we're not doing this, we're gonna look at different ways to do stuff and whatever that looks like for a medical center, or we just have decided, you know what, we can't spend all this money right now. What do we owe and what have we lost for money?
That's a great question. So right now, we have spent 750,000 and probably a little bit more because we've been doing some more, like we've committed to Scott Builders for a certain amount, but not, let's just round that up to maybe about 900,000. Right? So that 900,000 we'd have to pay for, right? So we'd have to, and the grant money wouldn't cover it if we decided that we weren't moving forward. And then, yeah.
So we're out about 900,000 and we're at ground zero.
Yeah.
Okay.
Round it to $1 million, give or take, depending. And then I know from a grant perspective, the province, and this is no reason to pursue necessarily, but the province very much supports this project is very much behind it and aware of it. So, you know, if we're able to proceed, I mean, that is looked upon good for them because, you know, and then when we go to try to get other grants, when you get awarded a grant, then you don't produce, it's not perceived amazing in the provincial eyes, but that's not a deal by any means, but it's just something to be aware of.
Okay, one more quick comment, Councillor Bailey.
Oh, yeah. So I just have I do have a couple more questions. I was just waiting until later on, but since we're kind of getting into that area, I just thought I would ask. So I guess this is a question for, well, you know, probably Bianca, but Kelly as well. If we were not using the $1.73 million that the province gave us through the Growing Community Grant, could we afford this project just from our own reserves? Because we didn't have that 1.731 million, we would have had to come up with something from our own end. So could we afford this as a town, even if we take that Growing Community Funds grant out?
We could always find a way. We don't have any internal reserves. So I mean, potentially we could do a short-term loan for pay back in 5 years, right? So we could, but we don't have.
Oh, we'd have to do a loan.
Yes. Yeah, we don't have, like our reserves are spoken for other infrastructure that we have. So I don't think either one of us would feel comfortable moving money from any other spot.
No.
Yeah, so
Right.
the only way we probably would be short-term loan, like a 5-year loan.
Right. So the only real way we're talking about this project right now is that as being a realistic one is because we got that, I mean, it came out of nowhere, right? The growing community funds is something that the province gave to every municipality in the province, and we got 1.73 million to almost do whatever we want with it. It's a very broad community fund, and the only reason we can afford this $10 million price tag is through that fund without actually taking on debt. Would that be correct?
Yes, one thing and we were actually looking, we looked at a news post from West Kelowna right now. They're doing their city hall. And the only way they're making it work too is because of their growing communities fund. Because their cost escalations have gone up because the project's being going for what, 3 years, 4 years? So we're not alone in communities that are using the growing communities fund because of cost escalation. But I also think it's one of the reasons why communities got it in the first place was because the provincial government really saw that what we're going through as communities and rising infrastructure costs. So, yeah.
Oh, and I don't want to suggest for a moment that this isn't able to be used on this.
Oh,
I just
no,
want to make
totally.
sure we drill down that these are choices that we're making, and fortunately or unfortunately, or fortunately that's there, right? But the point I do want to make is that we could use this money for a lot of different other priorities as well. So this is a choice we're making or will make as a council. But I just wanted to see if we didn't have that fund, would we be in a position to continue this through, or would this be a totally different conversation? And I think it would be a totally different conversation. But yeah, thanks for that. I just wanted to clarify that. And I'll wait until others have some chances to.
Thank you, Mayor Anderson and Councilor Reach.
A lot of my questions have been answered, but I just want to make a few comments. First of all, I think that moving forward with this project, because of costs and growing costs, is really important. I think that our staff has done a brilliant job of drilling down and picking it apart. We have two CFOs sitting here. So, I mean, how much more power do you want in a room? I mean, to drill down for us as a community. To the growing community funds, yes, other communities are doing the same thing. And I believe that the conversation we would have been having, because this has been on the books we've been talking about this for 8 years now. I think the conversation would not be using, if we wouldn't have got that funding, it would have been, okay, we're going to take out a loan and get this moving forward. We still have to remember that our community is fairly young. We've got a lot of young families moving in here. We need a healthcare facility. We need to attract doctors. We need to take care of our community. So, and we have, most of this project is grant funded. Right now, where the taxpayers pay for the operations of our medical clinic. I mean, that's kind of like we do it now. So I guess moving forward for our community, as we sit here and look at this project, it's brilliant for us to do. It's low, it's not a big cost as far as infrastructure and the building with all the grant funding that we've got, and we're moving it forward. And I think that's really important. We've got young families here in town. Sure, you know what, for me, I mean, whatever, I'm getting older. So, but we do need to have healthcare. We need to have healthcare in our community. And I think for $10 million, most of it grant funded, I don't think that's outrageous. So I'm going to get slammed for that. But anyway, that's just my opinion. And thank you, staff, for doing such a great job.
Yeah, and just a quick perspective, the West Kelowna City Hall, and I mean, it's a city hall, 22.4 million. Right, at least we're getting a health center and a community space and some stuff that can, provide a good service, and we can attract some really good healthcare providers when we have a nicer facility too. Anyways.
Thank you, Councilor Beach.
Through the chair. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate the support for healthcare. I just want to ask, because I was in on the meeting with the provincial people that came around and would have determined the community grant. And I'm curious as to whether or not, I know they were so interested in what we were doing here in the Healing Center. I know that when that came through, my feeling was that that was in response to what they heard that day and what we were doing. I don't know if that is in fact how these things work. Do all communities get the same formula of consideration when they're doling out community grants like that? Or can it be affected by the projects that you're working on in the community? That I'm just asking, because.
Yeah, no, so this growing communities fund, that's a good question, it's a calculation based on per capita, so.
Okay.
But the 300 is from the visit. So
Yeah,
this bonus 300, and I know it just seems like a small amount, but you know what, every little bit, this was a little extra handout based on the visit. Yes.
That answers my question.
Thank you. Councillor McCabe.
Yeah, I agree with Mayor Anderson. Well, all councillors. We need to maintain healthcare in our community. And we've got grants lined up right now. And what our CAO said also, that if we don't produce on these grants, it will be harder in the future to get future grants, because the government likes to download, but they don't mind giving grants to help local government download from the provincial government. But if we can't deliver what their mandate is, they'll give that money to other communities in the future. So if we don't produce on these grants, it would be tougher to get future grants for sure. So we have the window right now, we have the land, we have the grants in place. And our staff is telling us, we have 2 CFOs and 1 CAO, but that within 2 years are operating, no impact to capital costs, no impact to bill it to taxpayers. And within 2 years, it should be running at the current cost of our current medical center. So it's a wash in that way, no increase in taxes after a couple years of operating a new facility. So to get into a brand new community health center, as well as a healing center for our Indigenous partners, and no tax impact after 2 years of operation is like, why are we even discussing it? Yeah, of course, it's no brainer.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Beach.
Through the chair. The other thing that I really feel we need to stress is that it is a beautiful facility. It's going to meet a lot of different needs around a more holistic approach to health and well-being in the community. But the experience of many communities now is they can't attract the professionals that they need, especially in the small rural areas. They cannot attract the professionals to provide service to their communities, to their populations. And a huge motivator in thinking this way was to make sure that we had a team and we had support for our health professionals. It wasn't all on a doctor or all on a nurse practitioner. It was the team approach. And we don't talk about that enough. And I don't think that the people in the community understand how hard that would be if they had to travel out of town for every bit of care, because we couldn't keep a doctor here or a nurse practitioner here. So this is critical. And this building is going to be something where they're going to be comfortable and they're going to feel supported and they're going to come. We're going to be able to recruit what we need here.
Thank you, Councillor Beach, and Mayor Anderson, and then Councillor Bailey.
I just have 2 points here. One is funding. I agree with Kelly. I think that we will find more funding as we go along, because we are a model and people are looking to us, but we've also had some really good conversations, some ministry. So I think that, I think there'll be funding coming along. But my second point is you're going to hear a lot about cooling centers and warming centers. Our community space with that generator will be our community cooling and warming space. So I think that that's just another add-on to this facility and why it's so necessary to have that genset there to run that whole building with power. Anyway, that's.
Yeah.
tap out now.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Anderson. Councillor Bailey, then Councillor Rich.
Yeah, so, I mean, this project has always been a bit of an issue. Certainly the site I've never been enthusiastic about. I did change my position on that and supported moving this project forward at the $8 million price tag, but I cannot do that at 10. And I don't think this is a question about healthcare or no healthcare. That's not what I view this discussion as. I view this discussion as what can we afford as a town? What can we realistically do as a town that makes sense to us? And a $10 million healthcare center isn't it, in my opinion. We could not afford this if we didn't take on debt, if we didn't have the 1.731 million that we got from the province last year. Also, last year, when we got that, we said that we were going to have a discussion about what sort of strategic priorities that we wanted to use it on. I get that this is probably the discussion we're having now, but that isn't the view of what I wanted to use that money for. I wanted to use that money for housing, and I still think we should be using that money for housing. I think what we should be doing, and I know this is always a difficult thing because we have sunk costs into this project, but we should be reevaluating whether we need everything in this building at this price tag. Yes, there's a lot of wants. Yes, could be a need for a lot of it, but the question is, can we afford it? And I don't think we can. In terms of the operating budget, I mean, this is a very hard thing to put staff on the spot on this. I mean, I've talked to commercial leasing folks, and there's a lot of costs, operating expenses that isn't necessarily on here, you know, maintenance and other things. There's a bit, but this is a fairly, you know, lean budget with trying to project out 5 years. I think they've done an incredible job for what they're kind of working with and the assumptions that they have to put in. But let's make no doubt about it, there is risk here. And that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at what is the overall risk of this project. And it's a lot. We started at 6, we went to 8, now we're at 10. We've got to be realistic. And I hope council, and I trust everybody is thinking about this, that we've already had several cost escalations on this project over the period of time we've talked about this. And that concerns me. The site concerns me. And it's not just because I don't think it should have been at 200 Main. It's what we actually know is on the site. We know the site is a highly, it has a lot of archaeological spaces on that site. There's a lot of difficulties with that site. The builder even told us that. They don't know what they're going to find when they dig. We do, that's a huge risk. And so if we just step back and we take a look at all the risk profile that this project has, it has a potential to not only get, you know, we don't get what we want if we hit something on that site that requires an immense amount of archaeological study. We knew and we know actually what that looks like, the next level of study. It's incredibly expensive. And there is a high degree of likelihood that this could be where this goes. And so when I step back, I don't want to frame this as health center or no health center. That's not what it is. We need a new health center. I believe in having a new health center, but I don't believe that this is the right one. I don't also believe that having, you know, roughly 50% of the center being commercial space and hall rentals, essentially hall rentals, is the right fit. I think we can have something that works for our community, that gives us an updated health center. I think that's something the whole community believes in, is having an updated health center. I don't think the whole community believes in this project though. And for that reason, I can't support it. I really think we shouldn't be using the 1.7 million to balance out this project, to cover off these cost overruns. I know that I'm likely the only one that might believe that, but I really feel like these are important points to be made. And I guess that ends my comments.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank you.
Councillor Bailey. You've made yourself very clear. We hear you loud and clear. Okay, Councillor Rich.
One of the things too that I would be interested in, has anyone looked at what it's gonna cost if we keep the old building I mean, the old building, it's from what I've heard is falling apart. Like if we pull the plug on this, what is that building gonna continue to cost us? And, everyone's kind of saying it's not viable, it's not soundproof, it's 50 years old, yada, yada, yada. What is the upcoming cost of that? And what is maintenance on it now? And as it continues to deteriorate, because it's an older building, do we know those numbers?
Yep, it's later on in the budget here.
sorry.
Oh, here, which one? Finlayson Place. Mhm. So let's have a look here. Yeah, so I guess it costs us about $50,000 in expenses to operate that building right now. But there's repairs, like, I don't know, maybe Daryl can comment about the roof and some of the other things over there in terms of future repairs.
Definitely will be future repairs on it, regardless whether we're renting it out or not. What does that amount to? We're working through an asset management plan right now, so I don't know. I would think, you maybe take the value of it and at least have 3% put aside every year, just a crude way of allocating some money. But yeah, the roof will need to be done, and we've had to do a lot of plumbing, and there could be other things that pop up for sure.
Yeah, and I know those kind of roofs cost a lot of money.
Flat roof.
Yeah, I know that the church in Salmon Arm spent 100 and something thousand just to make that thing good. Yeah, go ahead.
And just through the chair, and I like the 1.7, definitely there's a million places we could put that money. For me, going into healthcare, I always look at a 40-year plan. We're going to need a health center. We are going to. It's a great location. There is going to be some green space left. And with housing, and I'm on the housing committee, and I mean, I hate to say it, but 1.7 million does nothing. Like that barely gets you in our all, like it just doesn't. And there is, and I understand that housing, like that is a Canadian issue. It's a world issue where Canada is way behind the 8 ball. And I spent so much time reading about this stuff. But again, there will be more money and grants coming down the line, and it's coming quickly. The federal government has finally looked and sees, an average middle-class Canadian living in an RV under a bridge. And that is our reality right now. And that's not just Sicamous, that's not just BC, that's Canada. And there are announcements coming, and we will be getting more money for that through federal and provincial. I really think that. And honestly, and it sounds terrible, but $1.7 million would not do anything for housing in Sicamous today.
Thank you, Councillor Rich. Yeah, you'd build a house. Councillor Bushel and then Bianca.
Okay, through the chair. Yeah, Ian, I can appreciate where you're coming from. I kind of disagree with cost overruns. We haven't even started building the building yet. And I really think it's just a sign of times. I don't think you can build a house for $400,000 a square foot or $400 a square foot. What the seniors are going to have to do to get that development going over there is going to be like who knows, $15 million project. It's a sign of the times. And Summerland was trying to put in a pool. They had to put a car box on it. It was just way too much. It's just the costs are becoming so much to build, and developers are really seeing that now. And we have the funds in place. I know it's 1.7 we could use on a boat launch, but we have 6 of them. 2 of them work really well or more. I think we really need to focus on get this project going, and then work with our developers and see if we can build some housing next. And I appreciate where you're coming from, and I appreciate everybody. This is really important. We've worked at this for a long time. I mean, we started in, at 5 point something million, and then it was 6.2, then 7.9, 8, now we're at 10. But if we can nail this and secure these guys at 6 for the shell and yeah, we might, who knows, maybe we have to go back to the drawing board for the interior and maybe it comes in at 1.7 instead of 2 point whatever, but I think we've got so much into this now. I think it's the previous councils and the council before that's idea to build this healthcare center. And I think we should still move forward on it. So that's my opinion. And I appreciate where you're coming from too, though. You know, it's a tough decision, but I think it's time.
Thank you, Councilor Bushel. Bianca?
And I just want to just make a note on the Finlayson Place. It also houses the SR Medical Center, but it also houses the Development Corporation, our kids club currently, they do yoga out of there. So there's a lot of space in there right now that the DOS is also using and, you know, yes, it's costing us a little bit of money, but if there's that value there that isn't shown on there, right, for rent income that we are using that building for.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, we need to,
This is just brought up today because tonight it's on the agenda to award the contract to Scott Builders. So this was an opportunity to go through it in a little bit more detail. I will highlight it again this evening, but it will be relatively highlighting it. So this was just an opportunity to get some, like for council to get some clarity and ask whatever questions you may need to ask before that.
yes, thank you.
There's no further requirements on this.
Excellent. Thanks, Kelly. Okay, I think we've heard from everybody. We asked some good questions. We're gonna take a 4-minute break. So just get a snack, use the bathrooms, no talking, come back. Okay, 4 minutes.
Jeez. Wow, I'm looking pretty good right now.
Let's move on.
No crunching milk.
We are we are moving on to the food cycler pilot project. And I'll just read this, would be 100% grant funded, local government climate action incentive program. Bianca, take it away.
Yes, so annually we get money to put towards green initiatives through this program. So this is one that they presented a few months ago to us, and we said we'd take it back to a finance committee meeting. So here we are. So this is for the composting units that people can have in their kitchens. I've taken this back. I've talked to a couple communities that have done the program. So Tumbler Ridge has recently done the program, and I talked to Jesse Olson there in their development department, and she said it's going actually fantastic there. They've done about 150 units, some of them being the larger unit, some of them being the smaller unit, and their community has really embraced it. There definitely is a cost to having one of these in your house, not just the upfront cost, which would be reduced, right? But they do require some filters just to make it so, you know, it doesn't smell stinky and stuff like that. But she said so far it's going over extremely well at Tumbler Ridge. But she also told me, she goes, maybe you want to talk to Dawson Creek and get both sides, because it did not go so well there, but that was a few years ago. So in Dawson Creek, when they did it, they just felt like the community didn't fully embrace it, and they didn't get all of the units out. They only got like less than 50 people applied. So, but she said it was a few years ago, the green initiatives weren't quite getting pushed out, and they just found that it just didn't fit their community at the time. So just good to hear both sides. She said that if it was done today, she feels like it would have been more well received, but just at the time, I think it was 2019, they tried to do a program like this and it did not go so well. But just bring us down to the numbers. So we have a formal vote and that we can sign, and if council's good with this, I'll be taking it to the next council meeting for approval. So right now, if we got 50 of the larger units, 50 of the smaller units, the district would get a bill for around $34,000. In that, we would sell it to the residents for $150 and $300. So all in, it'd be about $11,400 if we were to sell all of them. On top of that, if we wanted to, we could get more units if needed. But it'd be a substantially quite a bit more, just depending on how many people want to do this program. So how it usually works is you put your expression out, make sure you have enough people, and then they put in the order based on to get those amounts, figure out what the proper mix is between the two, between the larger units and the smaller units. And yeah, any questions? I know that was a very
Thank you. Okay,
recap, but
Mayor Anderson, Councilor Rich, Councilor McCabe.
I have a question and then a comment. My question is, how does this compare to a carburetor? I mean, you can probably put bones in this, I would think. Is that,
you would not put bones in this machine, and there is certain specifications like on size and stuff, like you don't want to be putting there are certain things that don't break down easily that this machine cannot deal with.
but the
Yeah.
difference between a carburetor, like for my potato peels and my carrot scraps, and I carburate them. So how does that impact our our waste?
Yes, so the carburetor is direct into our stream, and there's like lots of Europe is saying no more carburetors. There's lots of places that don't allow it anymore because you get a lot of organic loading in waste. I sat in on this presentation and I'm having trouble remembering I think it just shrinks everything down to like powder. And I think it was just going into the landfill or being
Soil,
just,
looks like soil.
Oil.
So
and
Can I make my comment? Sorry, dear.
well, there was a conversation about this stuff ending up as compost, and then how do the rats feel about this stuff? And I think that would be worth exploring.
That's my comment. I mean, if we can take this, and I think Kelly you and I went to found this at FCM. If this can go into your gardens, you know, and go into the soil and whatever, just be. But right now, we are facing a growing rat population, and it is because of our compost and what rats like. So, and it's becoming, it's not a problem, but it's growing, and we never used to have. Like a year and a half, 2 years ago, maybe 3, we didn't have rats here, but now we do, and they multiply quickly. And I think our compost attracts them. So I'm in favor.
Yeah, composts are kind of like rat drive-throughs. Okay.
and one thing to just note, like I'm talking to Jessie, I actually asked her, I'm like, are you participating in the program? She's like, actually I am. So what she does is she keeps it in her garage, and she has an extra bucket. So what she does is she fills it up during the week, the bucket just on her counter, takes it into her garage, takes her old bucket and brings it into the kitchen and kind of switches it up. She doesn't have a lot of room, so she just keeps it in her little garage. And then she just put hers in a container. It's pretty much odorless at that point. It's like soil. So she puts it aside for when it warms up and she does her gardening, or she knows a few people around her community that also are doing it, that are gardeners, and there's neighbors that are going out, you know what, I don't garden, but my neighbor does, and they'll take it in the spring. So it's gonna have to be like a community program where people are speaking to each other. Cause another thing too is, so the filters that you have to get, in order to get free shipping, you need to have a certain amount. So to bring that cost down, it's people saying on, Marketplace, hey, I'm putting in an order for some filters. Does anyone want to get in on it? Like, we're not gonna be initiating that, but just to know, like there is that cost going forward for people. Just something to think about.
Yes,
Yeah.
thanks, Bianca. Councilor Rich?
Yeah, through the chair. My cousin's in Tumberloo Ridge and she's gotten on this program. She absolutely loves it. And she's just putting everything into her yard, like literally just putting it on the lawn and raking it out, and it's just nutrient. And I think too, that with our raccoon and rat problem, it's just another measure to get people on board. So I'm in favor of this. I mean, I'd like everybody to have 4 chickens and all the scraps go into the chicken coop. And grow their own eggs is what I would love to have in our community, but I would start with that.
Okay, thanks. Councilor McCabe?
Do it.
Yeah. I think this will help with our rat problem, not make it worse, but help. So I support it that way. My question to staff is, how will it impact, you know, the capacity, the resources, the manpower? Use that phrase, the person power or whatever.
Yeah.
And is it okay? How do you feel about the cost impacts?
Yes.
So two questions, the capacity for staff and the increased work and cost.
Yeah, so they do have a full team that is committed to the municipal programs and stuff like that. So they'll be doing a lot of the communication. If people have questions and stuff, that we'll be passing it off to them. But the actual, like, taking in applications and all of that, that'll be done through our admin team and our finance team, just to get a process in place, get everyone signed up. I asked Food Cycler, what do the municipalities do? Like, do they require like a deposit for these machines? They said some communities have, some communities haven't. It's kind of been a bit of an honor system. Talking to Tumbler Ridge, they didn't require any deposits, because that's another administrative nightmare, right? Did you pay your deposit and all that? Tumbler Ridge didn't, but they also had a wait list of people that wanted to join, and once they capped out on what they could have, if someone did fall off there, they would get someone from the wait list. And yeah, and then it's just communication to the community. When our big order comes in on all the food cyclers, that will be staff having, you know, maybe a week that people can come in and pick up their food cyclers. So we'll be using one of our spaces to facilitate that, because it will be a big load of boxes. It'll be massive Amazon shipment coming to your front door, right? So we'll have to set that up. So it is staff time. It is.
But I feel Bianca and I
do it.
did talk about it, and within our finance department, as well as administratively, we could do it. It's not gonna be a deal breaker, but there
Yeah.
definitely is staff time allocated to it. But as long as we are timing everything appropriately with all of our other things, and we're not doing it at tax time necessarily when everything else is going on, our existing resources can handle it.
Okay. Councillor Bushnell, then Councillor Bailey.
Chair, yeah, is this something that Daryl's gonna go around, sell, around the community?
Any mini car?
I was just wondering who's gonna sell them. It's our neighbors, like the CSRD, being it's their, landfill. Are they, Colleen, are they doing this too? Do you know, have you heard, have they done a presentation there? I was just curious. Sorry, I got you while you're eating.
This particular project hasn't come to CSRD yet. But we were the ones that kind of brought this from FCM, so. I mean, I could probably take it over to CSRD, absolutely.
I was just,
And I'm fairly certain that they buy in their, waste management, they're all over that, so.
okay, no, I was just curious, thank you.
Cool, yeah, I feel like this is something from the Jetsons. First time I heard about it at council meeting, I was like, what, this thing is real? Okay, Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, so these products are all over the internet. You can buy one on Amazon, I think, for about $250, the municipal rate. I think I mentioned this when it came to council previously. I'm not a huge fan of this, actually. I look at this from a business perspective. We're taking all the risk. We're buying 100 units up front, and then basically we got to sell it on the company's behalf. It's a great deal for the company. I just don't know if it's a great deal for us, because we're putting staff time into it. We're out there basically marketing their own machine. And we actually have the risk, because it looks like we have to buy 100 of them. And, if we don't sell them, then we're kind of on the hook for them, or we have to discount the price, whatever. There's a risk element there for us, but it looks like a better deal for the company. So I'm not for it in that regard. I think if we can get, if we can go back to the company and say, hey, any unsold units, you're taking it back at cost, then I would be for it, because there's no risk kind of to the taxpayers if this doesn't fly. I know it's only 100 units, but I just don't see why we would take that risk from them and put it on us. And then I guess I just have a quick question for Bianca.
Yeah.
So the 11,400, is that actual costs that would impact our budget? Or I think I read somewhere that there would be a grant that would totally pay for that.
Yeah, so we get annual funding for doing green initiatives. And this would be one of them because we're diverting waste from the landfill.
And so we get about just over 60,000 a year
Yes.
to spend on carbon neutral stuff.
So the 11,400, let's say that is the cost, that wouldn't impact anything we do around, increase of taxes, because that's
Correct.
covered off by this grant. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just to go back, I would suggest to staff to go back to this company and say, hey, we'll do it, but you got to share the risk with us. If we don't sell these units, you got to take it back for what we're paying for it and see what they say. Because I think right now, if I'm, like I said, put on my businessman hat here, great deal for them. We take the risk. They sell 100 units and then we're left kind of making sure we can sell it. I think they should have some skin in this game too. And if we can't sell them, they commit to taking them back.
Thank you,
That's
Ian.
that's my suggestion.
Thank you, Ian. Okay, Councillor Beach and then Mayor Anderson.
Through the chair, I totally think this is an awesome opportunity. We are a condo living community. And I'm living in one right now and trying to deal with the compost is really difficult, and I'm in conflict. And I think this is a very doable solution for a lot of people. And if we take it on, I think we can sell it. I think it'll be huge. We have a Communities in Bloom program that is soil-based, that we can build up soils. We've got 2 community gardens at least, with another one going to be built that will need nutritious soil. It'll work, and I believe the community will get behind it. I also had read that they were going to stop, carburetors. And not allow them anymore. So I think we have to be thinking ahead in green ways. And it's not a lot of money to try it out. And I think it'll go over well. We can sell it.
Thank you, Councillor Beach. Mayor Anderson.
I agree. Just to reiterate a little bit, I think that if we do a promotional, this is what we're gonna do, and we pre-sell these so that we know how many that we're going to need. Agree with Ian, if we pre-sell them and somebody doesn't take theirs, of course. But I understand you can get these on Amazon, you can order these online. However, if you're not getting together as a community to do it and a community effort moving forward, you won't succeed at it unless you drive it as a community.
Yeah.
You won't succeed. So I think that, sure, you can order them on Amazon, but I think that we can do a better job of promoting it and supporting our community and talking about, the issues that we have with a lot of composting. And, we're going to go into talking about food security next. So it's all part of a bigger picture. So I think this is definitely, I'm in favor.
Thank you. Bianca?
Okay, so next steps for this, I will go and I'll ask your question, Ian, will they take back? By the sound of it, I'm thinking it's no. Tumbler Ridge or Dawson Creek did have some giveaways for their machines, so I'm thinking that's a no, but I'll ask that question. And then I'll bring this to the regular council meeting for a decision. Okay.
Thank you, Bianca. All right.
Okay. So the next.
Moving on. Advertising.
Yeah, so this one, I just wanted to bring up, so currently, when we advertise as staff, we are putting advertisements in both the Eagle Valley News and the Shuswap Market News. We are not required to do so per the community charter. You're only required to put in one weekly distributed newspaper. We just wanted to kind of open this up to council. I mean, advertising is
Very expensive.
like a full page ad in one paper, it was like $1,000.
Very expensive.
So very expensive. So just want to get some thoughts. The reason why we were doing both is because Eagle Valley News is kind of known to be our local paper, and then Shuswap Market News is a free paper. So that was kind of the rationale beforehand, but although Shuswap Market News is a free paper to receive, we still have to pay for advertising. It's not free for everyone. So just wanted to open that up. And then also, when we're looking at this decision, looking at our fees for service, which will come to a later meeting, me and Nicole have been discussing some of our fees for, certain applications that require public notice and all of that. We can incorporate these advertising costs into what we charge the builders and developers that put in those applications. So I just wanted to open this up to the floor, what you think. Go down to one paper, keep it Eagle Valley News and the freely distributed Shuswap Market News, or what council's thoughts are on that.
Thanks, Bianca. Councilor Bushel and then Councilor McCann.
Yeah, through the chair, thank you. I kind of like, I know we've talked about this years ago. And I know some people were concerned that it wasn't getting in the Eagle Valley News, and before I think we were doing it in the Market, or we're doing it in Salmon Arm, some Salmon Arm Observer, or I can't remember. I think it's important that it does go in our Eagle Valley News, and we support our Eagle Valley News. That's just my opinion. I do think it's important that it's, because a lot of the people don't get the Market. I don't get the Market. I don't know where to get the Market. I mean, unless I know it's free, but I got to pick it up somewhere. Where the Eagle Valley News is, it's online. It's you always everybody that needs to read it reads it, and they know what's going on in the community. So that's my opinion.
Thanks. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I was kind of thinking the opposite. Yes, sorry, Council Bushel. There's a cost to the taxpayer to meet our statutes or legislation, one newspaper. So I would suggest go with one and go with the free newspaper, because then people don't have to pay to look at our advertising that we're trying to reach out to our constituents. So I would suggest one paper and go with the Shuswap Market, the free paper. And because Eagle Valley News is, yes, support local. I agree with you on that, Councilor Bushel, for sure. Shop local, support local. But the cost of that newspaper is what, $1.50 now? I'm not sure. And it's 2 pages. So, no ditch on Eagle Valley News, but I hope they keep keep publishing. But yeah, my thought is a free newspaper, advertise one place in a free spot, so people don't have to pay to see what we're trying to reach and communicate to them.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson.
Thank you. Duncan, can you back that up? Did I hear you say that we can advertise in the paper and we can offload that cost to the developer?
For certain, we do have statutory requirements for other things than developer. We have statutory requirements like when our financial plan and other things throughout the year. So we want to kind of see what kind of consistency, we want to be consistent. If you're looking for a district of news, announcement, where do you go to look? We want some consistency, but that could very well be, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
So perhaps we look at that, if it is a project that needs to be announced in the paper, then perhaps we look at downloading that to the developer or property owner or whoever. But I do believe, Gordon, I'm sorry, Malcolm, Eagle Valley News is Eagle Valley News. Our folks here go there to find out what's going on. And maybe it does go into other papers or whatever, but I think for sure we should keep our Eagle Valley News. There is and there's cost of doing business, and for us, that's cost of doing business, and we are supporting our locals. That's it. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Anderson. Councilor Richardson and Councilor Bailey.
Through the chair, I think they're both owned by Black Press now. It's the same company. Money's going into the same big pot. I would like us to see go down to one. Again, I think a lot more people are going on to online, and if we have that opportunity for people to go online and we continue to focus on getting people there. So I mean, personally, I would vote for the Eagle Valley News because I think that's just what we all know. You know, that's what we all grew up with, and the older people that may not be online would use it there, and you can access it for free online now. So that would be my thing, is Eagle Valley News, but they are the same. It's Black Press.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Thank you, Siobhan. Okay, Councillor Ian.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, let's do Eagle Valley News as well. I think they write local content, and we could still, but I totally agree with Siobhan. I mean, it is the same company, so maybe only give it to one, but I would personally go with the Eagle Valley News as well. Thanks.
Yes, Mayor Anderson.
Sorry, just have thought. Both owned by the same company, Black Press. So perhaps there's a better deal they can work out, because it is owned by the same company. If you're printing one, maybe you get half price off or something. I don't know.
Through the chair, we do get a rollover rate for publishing
Okay.
papers, and our rate is lower than, I think we do get a little bit of a discount for being government and knowing that, you know, there are statutory requirements that we have to fill. I will share too that anything that we put in the paper is also on our website, and then we share it on our social media. So we have that communication channel as well. But the circulation is a lot lower for Eagle Valley News than for Shuswap Market, because it goes all the way up to Chase. But that being said, there's more local content, and it's our community newspaper. So
Thank you.
Kelly?
I was just gonna ask, is there a difference in price between the two newspapers? Is one more than the other?
Eagle Valley is the higher
It's
cost
more expensive? Yeah,
because the circulation is less.
yep, no, just wondering.
Yeah, I think that we should go Eagle Valley News, and then that's my opinion. Okay. Good, Pam.
Through the chair, I would agree with that, and I think that public perception would be appreciative of us supporting our local newspaper, and not appreciative if we don't. No matter how it sort of works out, I just think that's the best.
Okay, thanks. Councillor McCabe?
Well, we all have consensus, one newspaper.
Okay, yeah, good stuff.
Okay.
So next,
So I'm just thinking next steps for this. So if we're gonna just go with the Eagle Valley News from the general, maybe we post something in the Shuswap Market News of, you know, just announcing that if you're looking for district announcements, these are all the places to get them. Just so any of our Shuswap Market News people know where to go and get their information for the district, and we can keep it at Eagle Valley. Yeah.
okay, thank you. Mayor Anderson?
Sorry, I'll be really quick. What, you're just talking one announcement. You're not talking every week, because
Yes.
kind of.
One announcement,
Okay.
put it in there,
Defeats
let
the
everyone
purpose.
know.
Okay, just
Yeah.
checking. Not weekly saying, don't look here.
Yeah.
I got a buddy, he's got a skywriting plane. He'll give us a sweet deal, $2,000 per message on the day of the council meeting.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Okay, good stuff. All right, moving on, operational items, Bianca.
Okay, so, same kind of format as we did last year. So I'll just go, line by line and just discuss each operational item. So counselor remuneration, attachment in the agenda. So right now, what our council remuneration policy is we increase by CPI every year. So looking at, we do it based on November CPI rates, those aren't out yet, obviously. So our most recent ones are around 5%. So that's what we're budgeting for increase. Benefits, including CPP, employer health tax, health benefits are included in there. So overall increase of $12,000. So anyone wants to discuss council remuneration?
Comments or questions about councillor remuneration? Please, Malcolm.
What's a comparison against other communities of the same same demographics as herself.
Yeah, so Shauna has done that. She's gone through and we're average for our size of community and everything. We're right in average range for both counselor and mayor remuneration. That's a part of her annual process when we're going through budgets, is looking at the other communities, and yeah.
And she looks at them from 0 to 5,000, which is our bucket, and then 5 to 10, and then she takes an average of the average, right? Because our population does fluctuate, you know, and that's kind of how we look at council and staff wages, is we take a look at both and then we do an average of the average and
Thanks.
see where we fall.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other comments? Okay, I'll make one. I would, I kind of want to split the difference instead of 5%. Just to try and save a little bit of money, I'd want to go with maybe 3%. That's just my opinion. I just thought I'd make that note.
Have it at 3.
Yeah. That's my opinion.
Well,
Councilor McCabe?
it's based against the CPI,
Yes.
so CPI with a cap of,
Well, right now it's in our bylaws, and our bylaw says BC CPI is the increase.
Okay.
Here, so
so Councillor Evans is suggesting putting a cap, a CPI with a cap. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, I was just thinking if instead of 5%, I was thinking 3%. That's just my opinion, so.
5% represents last year's consumer price index.
Yeah.
So it could go down, it could go up. I think it should stay at this, whatever the CPI is without even a cap.
Okay.
Personally.
Okay. Good stuff. All right. Take it away, Bianca. Next point.
Okay, council travel and conferences, so just a little bit of a breakdown here for that. So our main conferences every year are SILGA, UBCM, and FCM. FCM, where we usually send, well, this past year we sent the mayor. In the past, it was always the mayor and one counselor. And this, yes, and the CAO this year. So right now, so SILGA right now is gonna be in Kamloops this year. UBCM staying down in Vancouver, and FCM is actually in Calgary, so it's closer this year, not in Toronto last year. Yeah,
Correct.
so this is where we're sitting overall, and I just have a placeholder in here of 2,400 for others. So that would be if there's another conference that pops up, like a housing conference or something like that. Yeah, so just opening this up for council discussion. Last year's budget was also 55,000. For our other number, I decreased a bit, just given the fact that our costs for UBCM have gone up a bit. Like hotels are getting expensive. So just want to kind of highlight that. Also to consider, if we chose not to send everyone to UBCM, there's still flexibility for some counselors could go to other conferences if they pop up. So yeah, open for council discussion there.
Okay. Comments or questions? No conferences? Mayor Anderson and Councilor Bushel?
Okay, so. Yeah, UBCM prices or costs have really gone up as far as hotel. So maybe we do look at half of us maybe go to SILGA and half of us go to UBCM, like break it up. I don't know how you guys, I'm just tossing it out there. But at the end of the day, is $55,000 high for our size for us?
If you look at since 2018, it's the only 2 years it was quite low was obviously COVID, 26,000, but it's been between 50 and 55 since 2018. And I mean, you see all the other counselors that go to the conferences, like SILGA's common for everybody to go. The only one is UBCM. Sometimes only a portion of council goes. It's really up to each council. I don't think it's grotesque.
Right now,
Or
for
go ahead.
hotels at UBCM, for example, you're looking at about $500 a night. So just something to keep in mind. with after taxes and everything at that time of year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and parking and everything that goes into that.
Councilor Bushel?
Through the chair, I think we have FCM right, but UBCM is just, that's where we get our funding from.
Yeah.
So I don't know, is it more impactful that we all go in together and like we ask for money all together? Is that better than just 2 or 3 people going in the room or 4 people going in the room and having a whole group go in the room and they see how passionate you are about a project? I don't know, UBCM is really valuable, I think, but that's Silga, Silga's kind of been funny lately, the past few years since COVID, I don't know. I think UBCM is very important myself.
Yeah, go ahead, Councilor McKev.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. To show unity as a council, that when we're asking for something, we're not asking as a counselor, we're asking as council is very impactful. I think when we went to UBCM that one time with Splats and their whole council came in with our council, the minister was just stunned, like, wow, these guys, yeah, let's support them any way we can, kind of thing. But also, I see a lot of waste at UBCM outside of our meetings. I think UBM spreads it over the whole week, Monday to Friday, when they could probably squeeze it down into 3 days and still achieve all the meetings. I think they spread it out too much. So I think as a council, we could maybe talk to UBM and maybe they could be more frugal in the way we meet. Well, meeting in person is important, and meeting as a full council, I believe, I agree with Council Bushel, is important. But does it have to be spread over, 5 days? I think that can get squeezed into 3. And also, our council takes a different approach on strategic priorities because we have our portfolios. So maybe we should also look at our portfolios for Silga specifically, and send councillors whose portfolios reflect what happens beyond the agenda for Silga. So I think we could maybe save on Silga a bit, and I think the province could save on UBCM if they shrunk that down to 3 days instead of 5.
I agree. Councilor Bailey?
No, I think all of these are important, and the reason why is because we're so dependent on grants in Sicamous, and those relationships that you can cultivate at all these conferences, I think we can't undervalue them. And I mean, you take a look at what was done this year. We met lots of cabinet ministers at UBCM, met the premier, and we got on their radar screen. They know who we are. We can introduce ourselves. So the value of these are more around kind of the soft acknowledgement that we're there and our issues are in front of them. But I think a lot of the times we can look at these price tags and go, oh, there's no value. Well, until you find out the value when you're not there and you start getting overlooked. And then it's too late. Then you're back to having to do all that relationship building again. So I don't think we should underestimate the value of being seen and being present. And I know there's always that tendency to go, okay, well, if we're trying to cut, like, let's cut here. But I think for a town that has so much dependency on grants and so many other things that we need the province for, it just wouldn't be wise. So that's my opinion.
Thank you, Councilor Bailey. Councilor Rich?
Through the chair. Yeah, I think we all do need to go to UBCM. Everybody has, we've got Mel who knows the ministry. We've got, Pam and I, or like Mel and I that do housing. Daryl came and spoke. And I think when we walk into that room, if we have 15 minutes and we have an expert, instead of trying to someone do Cole's notes and hit home, and we do need those grants in Sicamous. And I think it did make a difference walking in as, you saw some groups kind of wander in and the minister's looking off in like left field. And we walked in like a force and we had people that could speak. to what we were talking about at each meeting. And then when there were questions asked, we were able to come back and answer those questions. So I think it's really important, you know, can we cut on hotels? I honestly don't want to be an East fan, but walking from the region, fine. You know, do we need to be at the Pan? I don't think we do. So maybe there's some little places we can cut, but I think that one's a big one. And maybe with Silga, we do just send what we need, the people that have the information for what we need done.
Okay, thank you. You have your hand up still, Ian, or are you done? You good? Okay, and I did notice, I stayed with my parents the night before UBCM started on Monday, and I did notice that the rate that we got was half of what a normal person would get at the hotel we were staying at. So I think we can keep, I do agree with Councillor McCabe that we should write a letter and say, hey, cut this thing down to 3 days and just make us work our asses off. We'll get it done. Okay, Councillor Anderson, Mayor Anderson.
Back to that point of UBCM, they're probably trying to fit as many ministers in and they probably can't pack them into 3 days. To that point, I don't know if we should waste our time writing a letter because I think they're trying to get everyone there. So.
What about an anonymous letter? Too late. This is on record, this meeting.
Okay, and I have a quick suggestion, and it really doesn't belong in here, but I just want to see how council feels about it. FCM is in Calgary this coming year. So because it's everyone from across Canada coming to one space, I'm wondering if we shouldn't have Explore Sycamoose, but we shouldn't get a booth in the trade show to showcase Sycamoose. Explore Sycamoose or Explore Sled Sycamoose, but I just think that it's a great place to showcase because we can't go east, but they're all going to be here. So why not take advantage of that little tiny snippet of opportunity?
We'll talk to Carly about
Okay,
that.
that's all is everybody.
Yeah, I think that's a great.
Sounds like a good idea.
Councillor Bushel.
No, a good point, really good point. I was just, you know, Carly has the funds to do that, the MRDT.
I just want to see how you guys felt about it. Okay.
Good stuff. Next point.
So just before moving on, just high level too, UBCM, if you can't make a night, like you're coming on a Monday or not, you don't need Sunday, just always let Sarah know. So we can cut back, because our hotels is big cost. Okay, last year we budgeted 5,000 for council training, as you guys are all new for 2023. So we're not budgeting right now anything additional for that, so we cut that out, 5,000. Staff travel and conferences, I'm just gonna bring up visual for this one. We're budgeting the same as last year. At less than last year at 36,000. It's being reduced 5,000. That's coming out of the building official because we had Kenny driving back and forth from Revelstoke. So overall, everyone else's budgets have stayed the same. We had a lot of staff changes this year, so we ended up being under budget this year on it. But right now we have it budgeted to stay the same for staff travel and conferences. So if anyone wants to discuss that one.
Thomas, questions? Good to go?
Oh, they got it.
I think it's a pretty reasonable budget when you think of all of our staff and the professional conferences that everybody normally goes to at least one.
Yeah, and one big thing too, like billing officials and stuff, there's a lot of changes coming out right now, step code, a lot of downloading. So this one, I think we're being prudent by keeping it the way it is right now. Legal fees. This one, it depends on the year, kind of goes up and down. Right now, we're keeping the budget steady at 50,000. We're a little bit below, but I'm thinking it's gonna, year to date, it's gonna be around 50. So just keeping it the same for next year. If anyone wants any comments on that? Yeah.
Just one quick, I'm just curious what happened in 2021.
Labor relations.
Staffing issues, or was it staff council was getting staff to do, or was it
You know what, I have to go back and read.
just
Labor relations and various planning bylaw, so maybe there was some bylaw review for various planning bylaws. And I'm not sure what happened in 2021, but we've had some people coming and going, so. I can't recall exactly what that was in
It could have been severance packages, maybe.
Oh, no.
That,
Yeah, there was some big changes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, in 2021.
Yeah.
the next line, contracted services. Balance. So we've always, for the last few years, we've put in 10,000 placeholder from operating reserve if for some reason we need to use it for doctor incentives. So when we first started taking over the medical clinic, we ended up giving a $10,000 incentive to each physician. And so just carrying 10,000 for if we need, so we have it in our back pocket if we need to give it to a new doctor coming to town. And that one we take from the operating reserve. So if we don't use it, it stays in the operating. Anyone wants to discuss that one?
Councillor Rich.
Through the chair, so we're losing Dr. Lam in February. Do we need more money to attract another doctor if we say, hey, we're gonna give you 25 grand if you sign up for 2 years? Like, is that something we should be looking at?
I can answer that. So actually, I think Karen right now, and I'm not sure if she's online, if Karen's online and she's listening and can comment on this, but I think we're working, well, Dr. Alam goes on a locum to cover that period. And then they've been doing some interviews for, and I'm not quite sure, a replacement. Oh, there's some weird feedback. For sod, and they have been doing some interviews and working with Tracy for somebody to come, but this person has to get some paperwork done and can't start till September. So I know they're working on that piece right now. I think just even having, we don't necessarily pay an incentive all the time, but just having the flexibility of having that there. So if we do snag somebody and they're on the fence and we can throw that at them, it's just good to have there. And because it's an operating reserve, if we don't use it, it stays, it doesn't affect taxes.
I just don't know if it should be more, because I think we do need to make sure we, as we move forward towards a medical clinic and we Dr. Alam, that we make sure that we've got someone, we have a doctor in place. And I know it's not gonna be in February, but if it's in September and we're working on it and they're already recruiting, I personally would be, if we need more than 10 grand to get a doctor to come out to Sycamoose, I'm putting my hand up for that one.
Bianca?
If we needed to, if that time did come, we could take it to council and you guys could bless it and we could up it and could look at that operating reserve at that time, make sure there's enough and up it. So it's flexible, just have it here. Right now, just keeping the budget as we've done it in the past for that 10K. I mean, it worked for the other doctors, so I don't know if we need to increase it right now, but we can have that in our back pocket if we need to. We could do a budget amendment for that.
Thank you.
And I just got a text from Karen that sod is leaving March 31st, but we'll know December 1st about a PRA candidate. And it looks very promising.
PRA.
Practitioner.
I'm married.
It's if you're online, Karen, you can just speak.
I know what it is.
Because she actually has information and was.
Okay, hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, a PRA candidate it stands for a practice ready assessment. So what that is there's doctors from all over the world that have been practicing for many years and are looking to make Canada their home. The doctor we are really hoping matches with us, and every indication shows that he is right now in Edmonton, and he would come to Salmon Arm to do a 12-week assessment, and then after that assessment, he will be licensed, and he will come to Sycamoose, and it's a 3-year contract. Although obstetrics is his specialty, and he'll live in Salmon Arm. he has to live in Salmon Arm. He has to be within, I think, 20 kilometers of the hospital or something. So we will be welcoming him. Hopefully, we'll know on December 1st. So the 12 days of Christmas have arrived. We're just counting down the days. So super hopeful. And his wife is also a physician. So, and she at some point would go through that same process.
Okay.
Thanks, Karen.
I think,
Any
Mayor.
questions?
I think that Bianca answered my question about, we have put money, since we bought the clinic, we've been putting money into a bonus, a sign-up bonus. So, and I think, it's worked quite well. So I think, we should leave it in place. Sorry. Okay.
Councillor, yeah.
No, I agree 100% with Councillor Mayor Anderson. And the way our times are going these days, it could be in the form of perhaps a housing allowance, so they don't live in Salmon Army. I understand if they want hospital privileges, they have to have a 10-minute response time to the hospital or something like that, but if we happen to get a doctor that, or a professional practitioner, caregiver of some sort that doesn't have hospital privileges, maybe a housing allowance would encourage them to live in Sycamoose, in our community. Not that it matters, it's just the commute, I guess.
Yeah. I think north of Williams Lake, I got a doctor friend that lived in Quesnel. North of Williams Lake, you get $2,000 a month from the government just to be a doctor in a northern town. And they do that so they can keep their doctors.
Yeah,
And then a technology allowance of $1,000 and different incentives like that. So yeah, go ahead, Bianca.
I was just gonna
Kelly, sorry.
throw in there that is actually the physicians do get a premium for working in a rural community. So when they do get
Okay,
paid more for working in a rural community.
That's
Premium on that
good to hear.
not from us.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I was wondering about that because I knew about the northern allowance. Good stuff. Okay.
Okay, so grant and aid others, so keeping the budget the same over last year, so this is separate from the 40,000 that we give to the community for our community groups through the Shuswap Community Fund. This is 10K that we set aside, so 5K of it is for the Eagle Valley Arts Council, and 5 has not yet been allocated for 2024. So if anyone has any ideas, or we just leave it and have it there for during the year, that can be open for discussion.
And we normally use it for scholarships, like we get requests. There is one-off requests throughout the year, so to have a little $5,000 buffer is nice.
Gotcha. You guys good? All right.
Okay. Age-friendly costs, so this is for ongoing age-friendly initiatives within the community. Same budget as last year, so no tax increase here. And so far this year, the only thing that we've used the funds for was not about $900 has been used towards a scooter for one of our community members. And usually we also, I think, take it from here when we're supporting the Christmas dinner over at the senior center and things like that. So, yeah. Anyone wants to?
Councillor McKay?
Yeah, this is a marker for 5,000. We typically never use 5,000. We've sometimes used maybe up to 2, maybe 3 in the past. We could maybe drop 1,000 off of that and still be okay. But to be, we're designated an age-friendly community, and that's an ongoing process where each year you're supposed to improve accessibility or quality of life for seniors. So in the past, we've done stuff like most of our businesses in town, like the senior center has a handicap accessibility doors. Can't use the word handicap. The pharmacy has accessibility doors. The Legion has accessibility doors. Those are things that we've helped out in the past. Additional line painting around the senior center and stuff like that through operations. And it's a good fund to have. We could probably make that 4 instead of 5 because I don't think we've ever used a total of 5. But yeah.
Thank you. Any other comments? Let's move on.
Yeah, it's good. Okay, Communities in Bloom, same placeholder here, 10K, same as last year. Just confirming if council just wants to discuss, if you want to increase that, decrease that, keep it the same.
How much have we used?
We've fully utilized. Yeah, fully utilized every year.
Or Mayor Anderson?
So I've been in a bit of an email exchange in the last day or so. And one of the things that was brought up was the flower baskets that we used to have. And although we've done so many other great things that have improved the looks of our community, which I feel is definitely improved. Were the hanging baskets a big expense, or they were, hey,
And we
and a lot of labor?
Yeah, and we still do them. And I thought they looked pretty good last year, actually.
Hmm.
And planters, I thought looked really good last year as well, so. I saw the comment, the comment that was directed your way. I didn't really agree with it. I mean, yeah, there's quite a cost for the hanging baskets.
Hey, oh, thank you.
And those communities in bloom, just so you know, they get distributed to the businesses.
Yeah, they do.
We say, like, take care of them, here you go, and it's kind of a nice little.
Thanks, Daryl. Councilor Rich?
Through the chair, I think we're doing a great job. I think the town looks great, and there's always going to be naysayers and changing, but when the baskets were there, that was a water truck, like keeping a basket, when it's 40 degrees, that basket has to be watered twice a day. And the water trucks and the labor and all that, and I don't know Daryl's budget I just know what it looks like in my house, when I'm trying to keep my baskets alive when it's 40 degrees. So I think the 10 grand is a good spend. Our town looks great.
Thanks, Councilor Bushel.
Yeah, I agree too, that, 10,000 is not a lot to make the town look like it is. And I think Deb and her team is doing a really good job working with Public Works. And I think you guys it's looking really good. So I would keep it at 10 for sure.
Excellent.
Okay. Just so everyone knows.
I actually have
oh, sorry, yeah.
Ian, sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, I have my hand up. Yeah, no, just to put that into context, I know we spend just on G&G every year, $2,000 to put up our hanging baskets and all the planting. So I think what we're getting for 10,000 from Communities in Bloom for the whole town is pretty good. So I support that budget line.
Thank you. All right, carry on.
Right, Wild Safe BC is going to be coming to our next finance committee meeting to do a presentation on their program, what they've done for City of Salmon Arm and CSRD this year, and what if we decided it could look like for Sycamoose to be a part of their program. So yeah, I believe her name is Olivia. She'll be coming to the next finance meeting to present. Okay, and then
Thanks, Mayor Anderson.
Can I just, can you refresh my memory? And I just sat through this with the CSRD and yes, they're a big part of. We didn't support this last year because of, could someone refresh my memory?
I think
Did we do more than they did?
they didn't, when we were going through our budget deliberations, they didn't really have their program solidified. They didn't have a person actually hired yet. And also, I know Councilor Rich, I think, had some issues with some of the numbers that they were presenting us, and we decided we could just incorporate some of that bear-aware knowledge into our own programs and signage. I don't know if Councilor Rich wants to touch on that.
Yeah, I mean, even this year, they were supposed to have someone on board for May. They finally had someone hired by July who worked out of Revelstoke. And unfortunately, I know way too much about bears and spend way too much time with conservation officers and stuff. And again, it's a lot about garbage cans, which we don't have garbage pickup. So in Revelstoke or Salmon Arm, when to put your cans out and stuff like that, which really doesn't apply to us. And we don't have, Old Town has black bear issues, which they're gonna have forever. And Sycamoose just doesn't have. To me, it's not, we'll see what she has to say, but again, they don't bring a lot to what we're doing here. We're not, in my opinion.
Yeah, so and I've asked her for when she presents, I've given her a heads up. We'd want to know what the program would look like at our community, what the financials would be. And yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, fire department expenses, the visual for this one. So this one has actually gone down a little bit, but that is because we painted our fire hall. So we included that last year in repairs and maintenance. So it's gone down a little bit over last year, so we're going from 384,000 to 378. Yeah, this is just a visual of kind of where we've been over the last few years. This year with our wildfires, we did end up netting about 250,000 from our expenses to what we got from BC wildfires. We're sending people out on deployments and sending on our SPU trailer. So what we always do with that money is we put it to the fire equipment reserves in order to pay for our future fire trucks and any necessary equipment that the fire department needs. So it's a happy thing to see, but also a sad thing to see that we had to go out to so many fires this year. So if anyone has any comments on that.
Straightforward. Next.
Yep, straight to the point. Okay. So just a couple grants that the fire department has applied for and that will be incorporated into our budget. So they've applied for a $30,000 grant, which they also applied for last year. We did receive it last year just for equipment and everything. What Brett does is he goes through what we have in the fire department and what needs replacing and everything, and then he tries to get some grant money. So seeking for a $30,000 grant on that. And then also our Fire Smart, we're applying for $200,000 on that. And Brett's feeling quite confident in both of those. Yeah. Siobhan?
Through the chair, is there any grants, like we're talking about $260,000 for a generator that we're gonna keep people cold and warm with so they don't die? Is there, and I know everybody's, you know, I'm not trying to tell staff what to do, but maybe there's money out there for our medical center for that generator or something else, but like if we're talking that we're gonna use that public space for cooling. So
Is there, maybe under emergency?
Yeah,
Because this is, sorry, I don't mean to,
no, take over.
but yeah, this is becoming a community concern. So yes, I think there is, as a matter of fact. Under emergency. Under emergency.
I think that's an excellent point.
Good point.
So,
I
I don't
didn't
know.
think about that.
Potential grant.
Yeah, but if we can get 50 grand towards our generator to keep everyone alive.
No, that's a fantastic idea.
Good stuff. And Sarah, you got something? No, you're good? Okay.
Okay. So moving on to our recreation events and economic development, the visitor center, the chamber will be coming to the next council meeting or the next finance meeting on December 7th to present on that. They're just having their AGMs and everything at the end of this month meetings. So we getting Sheila in for that. Special events.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Can I just back up to Chamber of Commerce? Right now, that 70 grand that we're giving the Chamber of Commerce, they don't pay any rent anymore, correct? Like, they weren't paying.
They weren't
rent
paying
there. Okay. So that's just operating that staff wages probably. Okay.
And I haven't gotten any numbers from Sheila yet or anything. They're still working out their own budgets.
Okay.
Yeah. So, special events. So let's see the breakdown here. So last year we didn't budget anything for revenues for stage rental or wash per rental. We decided we're keeping the stage. So I've incorporated the revenues in there. We haven't even, I don't even think we really did in the past either, just because we never know. But it seems like we're renting that out pretty strong. So I've included $8,000 there. Wash car rental, I will open that up after I'm done here to discuss kind of what we want to do with that. And then Canada Day this year, we spent a little bit more than originally anticipated, which was offset by our stage rentals, but it is becoming a little bit, I would say, it's costing a bit more to put on the Canada Day, to make it such a large, nice family event. I think it went over really well this year. So kind of boosting it up to 15,000 and seeing what council thinks there.
Comments or questions about Canada Day? Mary Anderson and Council Rich.
I think 15,000, I'm fine with an increase. I love Canada Day here. I think Sycamoose does a spectacular job. And I think that people come from around in the area, around, you know, the area just to come to Sycamoose Canada Day. I think we do a great job and I don't want to see it. I'd like to always see it improve,
Gotcha.
not take away.
Thanks. Council Rich.
Through the chair, yeah, I think we need to keep our Canada Day going, and I think we're known for it and we do a good job and we need to continue to do that.
Good.
Sounds good. Okay. Looking at recreation programming. So we're budgeting half the year for the after school kids club and all that, moving over to the new daycare once it's renovated there. So slight savings just in our wages and everything, doing part year for those people. And just to show you 5-year kind of comparison on what we've spent on recreation. So we're a bit higher this year just on recreation, so the net, how everything flows out. So 92 is pretty much on par. We might see this a bit lower, just depending on savings from the after school care, because it does cost us more than we get back in revenue from that. But still being kind of conservative here. And if there's any discussions on rec programming, other programming, we're keeping kind of status quo. Once that kids club is off there, Jamie is wanting to ramp up our other programming and get rec really going. So we'll see what that entails. What we usually do is when it comes to our programs, we estimate out the cost of the program, and then for fees, we do just a 20% markup to cover all of our admin costs, just to pay for our programs. And me and Jamie have gone over and looked at the budget and kind of seen where we think next year will be at with similar programming. Yeah. Any questions?
It's just a good job.
Sarah's got a comment.
Thank you through the chair. Just to add to that, there's a recreation survey that's going to be going out that Jamie's been working on, just to kind of see what people are wanting in the community. So I think that'll be really nice feedback for council and for Jamie to see.
Thanks.
Okay. Biofuel, I'm going to be bringing this to our January council meeting. We're now in operation. It's sending heat over and everything like that. I want to nail down these numbers this year, seeing where our winter season is happening. So look forward to January 24th for biofuel.
And we have done our first bills.
We have done our first bills and they're looking promising. So yeah, feeling good about that. But yeah, January 24th.
Do you want to share more? What does looking promising mean?
Well, it's on trend to what we're kind of thinking, or what we were originally thinking.
Not huge.
Councilor McCabe.
Yeah, thank you too. Colleen was recognizing me. Habit. Thank you through the chair. So again, the biofuel there, it's operational. That's great. What buildings in TA are they feeding? Because I guess my question is, in the winter, they use that wood heat and it just hangs in the valley and so are they?
They're not using
They're not using that.
It stopped being used?
Yeah.
That's a big win for Sycamoose. No disrespect to TA, but I mean, for air pollution and yeah, so that's great. Thanks.
They have 2 buildings. They have the main building and then they also have like a tent structure. So 2 structures up there.
They're 2 large
They're 2
structures.
large structures that they're heating. Yeah.
And I believe there is interest, Daryl.
There is.
Next door
Neighbor, yeah.
and across the street.
Yeah, there's some interest there's a couple spots. So we've just sent somebody a contract to review and we're hoping we can sign up another.
Nice.
Good stuff.
And then just going over some of the projects, so I've kind of gone over it with Nicole. In the past year, we had our active transportation feasibility study. That's being completed, active transportation. Speaking with Nicole, we've done a lot of studies, and what our what her department is saying is, let's use those studies and go after, you know, the valuable information in there. So we're not budgeting any new studies in that department. They're gonna be focusing on doing what they do to the best of their ability, looking at the processes in place and attacking it that way, customer service. So nothing earth shattering in community. Well, I think it's kind of earth shattering, you know, doing the best you can. So community development, staying the same there. Anyone's calling?
I'm super happy to hear that, because I think we have enough information to move forward with everything in Sycamore. So let's go.
Councilor Bush?
Yeah, just, sure, just on that active transportation, is there anything we can do to try to focus highways, safe, you know, transportation of pedestrians and bikes along the highway out towards, you know, the condos on end of Mare Lake there, or on Mare Lake, and then also along the highway to Cami over to, is there anything we can, you know, I mean, can we need to budget and try to get that happening, because it's not gonna happen if we wait for highways. And I don't know, maybe do we try to even throw 5,000 a year, 5,000 at that end of town, and then 5,000 next year over there? You know, just, we gotta get something for the public to walk.
Yes, I completely agree. Kelly, and then.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, that's part of the capital plan, as we've been talking about the trail network. So we did this active transportation plan because you needed this active transportation plan to go ahead and then get grant money for the different sections. But then when you go and look at the grant for that, they want counts, right? Walking counts and a bunch of this other stuff. So we're looking at the different, like, you know, the one over on the highway and connecting Mare Lake Lane and that walking path. And what we would have to do to be eligible next year for a grant, and this will be part of our discussion in the capital piece as well. Just on a side note is that Daryl, myself and Nicole met with 3 individuals via Zoom yesterday from MOTI, specifically about an integrated community transportation plan. What would that look like? How our active transportation connects. So we now have 3 great individuals that we're now moving forward with the scope of works and that, and how that active transportation piece and MOTI work together and how we can get that done.
Excellent. Councilor Rich and then Councilor Bailey.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like out at Silver Creek, where the school is out that way, if you look before you head up to Yankee Flats, they've got a really nice, it's just a gravel trail. It's just honestly on the side of the road. It's not spiffy. It's not, it gets you off the road so you don't get killed. And so it's a CSRD initiative, but it may be even worth looking on how they figured to get that in there. Because I know we're going, okay, it's gonna be widened and we're waiting for MOTI and all this, but I mean, I'm not sure that's gonna be in our lifetime. So just to get, I mean, even if it's cement barriers up or something, so that people are safe going down to Timmy's and heading out to our new on-leash dog park.
Okay, thanks. Councilor Bailey, then Councilor McCabe, then Councilor Reach.
Yeah, I'm really happy to hear that we're not going to do any more studies. We've done a tremendous amount of studies. They've cost a lot of money, and now I actually think what I'm sure Nicole's doing this, is we can go through it and start actually implementing some of the recommendations that came out of those studies. I mean, we have a really comprehensive active transportation plan. There's a lot of great stuff in there. Unfortunately, money doesn't grow on trees. We're going to have to find some funding to implement some of those things, and also on the budget as well. But yeah, I'm really happy with that direction, that now we're getting to a point where we've done the studies. We can actually look at putting some of those studies into action. So yeah, thank you, Nicole.
Councilor Malcolm.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear staff's working with MOTI. That's good. The players change over there once in a while, but it's good to have that face-to-face communication. And I agree with what Council's saying about active transportation as far as on Highway 97 and connecting Sycamore South Square Road to the traffic lighted on the Trans-Canada Highway. That's important. But what we're not doing is anything towards a pedestrian bridge across the end of Main Street. We finished our study and the study had recommendations in it, but we're not pursuing any funding or grant money to start a design on a pedestrian cyclist bridge. I know it'll take years and years to actually build something, but right now we're not actively doing anything, I don't believe, towards the next step in a pedestrian cyclist bridge across the channel. I'm thinking possibly we could tap in, like Ministry of Transportation has a $1 million grant for active transportation. They don't actively promote that, but it's always there. So I think that could be used for on 97 and connecting the dog parking bridge through Highway 1 in Trans-Canada. But for the pedestrian bridge, I don't think we've tapped into our economic opportunity fund lately. And I don't know if there's a 3-year commitment on that for something else, if I remember correctly, but I think it would be an economic opportunity to connect the pedestrians coming from the Okanagan on the rail trail into Main Street downtown Sycamore, get them off the Trans-Canada Highway and onto a pedestrian cyclist bridge. So I'd like staff support or council support to ask staff to actively look for funding for a design, because on our previous study, we all agreed as council that should be an arc kind of bridge going across the channel. So we know what kind of concept we're looking for. And that same concept is already in place in Kelowna. And I always say, why reinvent the wheel? Why can't you go to a different town and say, okay, can we get the footprints for your fire hall because we need a new fire hall, instead of paying an architect to design a whole new one? Well, and I've done this before with highways to build a bridge once in Birch Island. We just took a existing bridge design and applied it to a different location. Anyhow, Kelowna has a pedestrian cyclist bridge going across Harvey that the span is probably larger. It's a pre-span, it's probably larger than the span on the channel. Why couldn't we just call Kelowna up and say, what's the span of your pedestrian cyclist bridge across Harvey, and take those plans and just, yeah, we can just drop that plan over, use that for across the channel. Anyhow, I think I'm suggesting we tap into Economic Opportunity Fund, and the stats are there because we can just extrapolate all the users that are already on that on Lake Country, like 500,000 a year, and definitely an economic opportunity for the regional district and ourselves. So Area E could buy into that, and district to get some funding to start a design for a pedestrian cyclist bridge across the channel. How does council feel about that?
Mayor Anderson, Councilor Beach was next, and then Mayor Anderson,
Okay,
I think.
through the chair.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, okay.
Okay, thank you. Through the chair, just a couple of things. We have talked about the need for getting pedestrians off of the side of the Trans-Canada Highway headed out towards Timmy's before. And I don't think we have to wait, and I advise us not to wait for the MOTI to 4-lane. That could be a while. And the side that we would put it on would be restricted for MOTI to expand into anyways, because the river is right there, is my feeling. They would probably go on the other side. So I would really like to get on with a path that the students can cross safely at the light and get on to a path headed out to Timmy's on the correct side of the road instead of running across the highway at various and sundry points. I think that's really important.
Gotcha. Good stuff, Mayor Anderson.
And I'm going to be really, really brief. And to Malcolm's point, thank you for bringing that up. I have spoke to Rona about the EOF, and she is committed to working with us for $250,000 for the pump track. So we're just doing that paper, staff is just doing that paperwork up. It's hot off the press, hot off the press. I just told Kelly just the other day, because we were talking about the money in there, and Daryl showed me these pictures and I sent them to Rona, and here we are. So I don't know if her interest would be in design on the pedestrian bridge, like I don't know if that would be her wheelhouse, but I think we should continue looking for funding and get a design. I think that you're right, it's gonna be years between, highways and spot scene. It's complicated. It's a complicated project and it looks like it's gonna be complicated for a very, very long time.
Good stuff. All right, Kelly?
I was just gonna suggest that we've got a highlighted mark here, and you know what? We've got 5 finance meetings. We'll put a pin in it here and we'll regroup at the next meeting.
Yeah, we did pretty good today. Bianca?
And housing initiatives, there's gonna be discussion on, I believe it's the regular this evening, about where housing initiatives would be for plans and stuff like that, so. We continue later this evening for that, so we'll start off with community health center next.
Yes, Mayor Anderson?
And that EOF will come to council for council approval. It's not, I'm not out there by myself doing it. It'll come to council.
I like the idea.
One day.
Good. I like the idea you had there about, let's look at other bridges. Why not? That are already there. Okay, we're gonna wrap up.
Adjourn?
Yes, motion to adjourn the select finance committee. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, seconded, all in favor?
Yeah.
Great. The next meeting for select finance is the 13th, right?
The 7th,
The 7th.
December 7th. It's a Thursday at 10 o'clock.
It's Thursday. Beautiful.
It's a Thursday. Yeah.
I know, weird.
Oh,
You guys picked it.
I picked it. So
I
messed
know.
up right now.
That's right.
My calendar twice.
And so, hey, we'll see you then.
Times are. Maybe
Nice job at your
Minutes.
chair.
We're back at 1?